tens of thousands of fans converge on Silverstone for this afternoon's British Grand Prix. Police urged some drivers to turn back as queues started growing at one stage at a mile a minute. Peter Staunton reports.
There was just no escape. Probably the worst road chaos ever generated by a British sports event began around 5. By breakfast time, there was 15 miles of static traffic in every direction. Even helicopter passengers were left frustrated. Early morning mist delayed flights for several hours. The only guaranteed way in was straight across the fields. Getting into the car parks was proving tricky. Getting out tonight may well be impossible for many. No one on four wheels had been spared a nightmare journey. Out on the track, conditions were vastly improved from yesterday when Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who only had to walk from the Jordan factory across the road, drove on to the front row of the grid.
Basically the right tyres in the right moment and the right strategy in the right moment, and this changeable weather, and we had 4 seasons yesterday in one day.
So the end of a long and grinding journey for thousands of Formula One fans, but it could well have been worth it. This afternoon's race may well turn out to be one of the best for years. Peter Staunton, ITN, Silverstone.
I'll be back at 1:15.
Good afternoon. It could be an interesting race, especially if the weather has anything to do with it. There are some showers around and about the Silverstone track, and if they escape the race circuit, I think we'll be very lucky indeed. A number of heavy showers across many parts.
Tomorrow to the sporting highlight today. Formula One now, live from Silverstone.
Hi, I'm Jenson Button. I'm about 1 hour away from my first British Grand Prix alongside Michael Schumacher, so it's going to be pretty interesting, so stay tuned.
Silverstone. Oh, what's happened? David's lost it, has he? They're both off. That's Hakkinen. That's Schumacher. David Coulthard from Twynham, Scotland, wins the British Grand Prix for McLaren.
That was last time. Staging the British Grand Prix in April, though, has been quite an experience, a test of temperament and the bulldog spirit. We've had the full weather cocktail. In between, though, the qualifying hour was superb. Rubens Barrichello's put a Ferrari on pole at Silverstone for the first time in 10 years. And could this be the day when the popular Brazilian finally wins a Grand Prix? On St George's Day, England welcomes a new young hero. It's Goodbye Damon. Hello, Jenson Button. Hello there, good afternoon to you all. It is a beautiful spring day here. Started off though with loads of fog around. The warm-up was delayed for about 1 hour and 3/4. The good news is the race goes ahead bang on time. Just seen those horrific pictures on ITN though of all the traffic surrounding the circuit. My sympathies is you got stuck in that little lot, but this is the place to be this afternoon if you can't get here. This is the Royal Automobile Club trophy for the winner of this race. All sorts of famous names down there on the bottom. Tony Jardine hasn't quite made it, but this man has. Sir Sterling Moss, always a great pleasure to welcome you, Sterling. Now, what have you made of us all traipsing here through the mud in April?
Well, I think we've got a fantastic race lined up. I really do. I mean, the mix, because the practice was so different if you like, so messed up really. I think it's going to make it terrific. I'm interested to see how long it takes Michael Schumacher to get in the front. Or will he get in the front? You know, I mean, let's face it.
Conditions perfect here today, but they haven't actually been perfect at the circuit all weekend. There are lots of horror stories out there.
Absolutely. I mean, felt so sorry for the people who've come here, and the drivers. I mean, it's been very off-putting when it's as bad as that. The one thing is, I mean, it was really wet. Hopefully, it's going to be dry today. But if it's a wet race, it's quite a different thing.
Just checking round Silverstone 2000, Sir Sterling. Things have changed quite a lot here since your day, haven't they? And a very different sort of place here now.
Well, that's my Mazda.
I thought you might recognise it.
Yes.
Is there anyone else in there you recognise?
I was as bald then as I am now.
You look as young as ever.
It's fantastic.
All around Silverstone, these pictures.
There's Graham Hill there, was in a Lotus.
Did that look wet? Is that wet in the background?
That's like Roy Salvadori there in the Aston Martin. Yeah, wonderful halcyon days, I think, there.
It's amazing the colour, the quality of colour, because colour wasn't very common in those days. You know, I mean, very rare to see colour of the 60s. I mean, it was you know, it just didn't happen. Although there was colour, I think, before the war, but it wasn't in general use.
You're telling me that, so I'll rely on your expertise on that. Tony, let's just rely on your expertise, Tony, and have a little look back at the qualifying session. It was amazing, kind of a dry hour for a start. But Rubens Barrichello, who is yet to win a Grand Prix, what a drive he had in the Ferrari to put the Ferrari on pole.
I think he's a very, very smooth driver indeed. This is his third pole position, and they've all been won in similar circumstances, like here at Silverstone yesterday, either damp tracks, wet tracks, like in Spa in '94 where he won his first pole. It was drying. Every lap it got drier and drier. There was a dry line. They went on to slicks after about 15 minutes. Rubens was one of 15 people who were on provisional pole. He set the early provisional pole, and he was out there right at the end to capture it when his teammate went wrong. A great performance. Smooth driver, silky smooth Ferrari engine, delivering the power nicely.
Sterling, lots of the crowd stuck in the traffic have come here to see Jenson Button before we see him in action. What are your thoughts about how Jenson might go here and how he's done so far?
My thoughts are he might, and I hope he will, drive a steady race, a fast enough race. It wouldn't surprise me if Jenson holds it together and stays on and somewhere near the podium. I wouldn't expect him to win, it's ridiculous, but he is such an intelligent lad. He's got a good car, or it appears to be getting that much better. I think he's in there with a chance of doing extremely well. Let's hope he does.
You saw him open our programme there, and you enjoyed that. Wouldn't have happened in your day, though, would it?
You better believe it wouldn't. I mean, but he's an amazing person, you know. I mean, he's only a kid.
So calm, isn't he?
He really is calm. He's had really virtually no experience of this sort of pressure. And I think yesterday probably helped him a lot. A, he knows the circuit. B, with everybody at sea as they were yesterday, he made the decision at one time. I think he nearly did he hold pole?
Well, he got up to second place at one point, and this is the pictures from qualifying yesterday of him taking that second place. But Gerhard Berger, the competitions director of BMW, was so impressed by the performance, Sterling, because he went, every lap was faster. The important point is he only spent 10 minutes on the track in the morning, because his car had still been damaged from the day before. That was a brilliant job. Very, very impressive indeed.
With all due deference to Jenson, Britain's best hope probably rests with David Coulthard, last year's winner, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for David because last year the Schumacher accident took all the publicity. You hardly knew that this man here we're watching won the British Grand Prix in 1999. And it's every British driver's dream to win the British Grand Prix. If you said to them which Grand Prix would you like to win, have to be the British for them. It's such a great lift. And he has scored points in 5 out of the 6 times that he's competed in the British Grand Prix. That's an impressive record for the Scotsman. Okay, he's on the second row of the grid, but he's still got a good chance, and he's a great driver.
Looking back at the season so far, Sterling, what have you made of Michael Schumacher's achievement of winning all 3 races?
I must say I'm not surprised. To me, he is in a class of his own. I think the others are really good drivers out there, but Michael Schumacher is wizard. I mean, he really is. He's a man who I think, when you look back in years ahead, he will be classed in with the very fastest men.
I mean, this was him in yesterday. The thing about him is he is fallible. He does make these mistakes. He is all the time on it, driving the thing on the nose. And when he went out to respond, and there were several drivers, Häkkinen and Schumacher had 5 laps left of their allocated laps for qualifying, He made 2 setup changes, which went wrong, and he made 2 mistakes on that final lap, and he was really, really angry.
Just missed it though, didn't they? Just missed
it.
Flying
Yes,
lap at the
yes,
end. Let's just confirm for you then how things look, Tony, and up the front there, Heinz Harold Frentzen, terrific achievement up there on the front for Jordan.
I think he's buoyed by the birth of his daughter recently, and he's certainly flying at this home race for Jordan, their 150th Grand Prix, and there's the McLaren twins. Hakkinen, a little bit of a problem, a bit mystified by the engine, said he'd got to check all the data. We've talked about Coulthard. And then Michael Schumacher, and alongside him, Jenson Button, we've talked about him. He's got to start alongside his hero. He's got to put that out of his mind and try and beat the twice world champion off the line. Ralph, very upset. The second time he's been beaten by Jenson Button this season. He was not happy with his qualifying. Verstappen, his best since '94. Irvine, he's the fastest of the 2 Jaguars there. Villeneuve, new engine package from Honda, new aero package on the car. He was on provisional pole for a while. Truly bought by traffic. Fisichella disappointing again in qualifying for Benetton. Not happy there. Deniz, quite good, but Johnny Herbert hoping to get home in the points after all the problems that he's had so far this year. Previous winner of the British Grand Prix. Alesi this morning, bodywork flying off, all sorts of problems. Zonta flew off in a big accident at Stowe last week, and he spun in the wet many, many times. Heidfeld and Salo had problems with the set of his car and traffic. And Della Rosa there, and alongside him Wirtz under yellow flags. He seems to pick the yellow flags each time. And well back at the last row, the 2 Minardis.
Good, Tony, thank you very much. Let me just remind you how things stand in the Drivers' Championship. Those 3 races gone, as we've been telling you. Michael Schumacher has won the lot. He's followed, 21 points behind by his teammate Barrichello on pole here today. Then Fisichella with all the points for Benetton. Hakkinen, world champion, and Ralf Schumacher, 4th equal. And Jacques Villeneuve scoring vital points for BAR. Well, last year we were here in July, temperatures up around the 30s. We had an emotional farewell to Damon Hill. We had a British winner, and we had a high-speed accident that turned the World Championship upside down.
Go at Silverstone! The 2 Ferraris fighting each other. Eddie Irvine coming, the red flag. The race is being stopped. Oh, but that's Schumacher, isn't it?
He's waving, look, that's Schumi with his arm up in the air saying, well, thank you, not too bad.
Explosive start from Hakkinen. Eddie Irvine has got ahead of Coulthard. Irvine in the Ferrari ahead of Coulthard. Here is race leader. They've got a problem on the right front.
He's wiggling the car around, just feeling, somebody's telling him, just feel, is that okay?
Eddie Irvine coming out of his pit stop. He's got to stay to the left of the yellow line.
Close.
There goes Coulthard.
Is that a McLaren? That's Hakkinen, lost his left rear. Car's going round him. Hakkinen's left rear off.
This is doing no good for Mika Hakkinen at all. The crowd goes mad. Damon Hill leads the British Grand Prix. Yes, I know he's not going to for very much longer. David Coulthard from Twynham, Scotland, wins the British Grand Prix for McLaren.
Just over 3/4 of an hour away from the start of the British Grand Prix. News has just reached us from the local police. All roads closed around Silverstone now, so if you're not in here, you won't get in. Sterling, what about Michael Schumacher coming back in here after that accident last year? I mean, you've had your share of pranks.
Yes,
you
I
really,
have.
and everyone sits there going, no, we don't think about it. Just another race, just another circuit. Really?
No, really, I don't think it'll affect him. I think, Michael, you are either a person it really affects, in which case you need to get out. I mean, Johnny Herbert's a guy who had a terrible shunt, and he hasn't really got back to what he was. If you think back to what Johnny was before, he's doing well, but I think maybe that worries him. But certainly there are people, and I think Michael's one of them, where if he has a shunt, as long as he knows it wasn't his fault, and that's the important thing.
And it wasn't, the brakes failed, didn't they?
Well, exactly. And I think it was a bit of a mistake what happened, but I don't think it was his fault.
Things happen to Michael Schumacher here, don't they?
Well, they do. I mean, he was black flagged in '94 for overtaking Damon Hill on the way around. The following year, he and Damon came off over there around by Prix. Actually, Damon pushed him off, and he's had a sick motor car. He's had, you know, second places on the grid. He's had one Grand Prix win here, and so it's not a good record at all.
All right, well, we're going to hear from him now. Michael Schumacher, he says he's put all that behind him, all those incidents of last year. Martin Brundle has been talking to Michael. Now, Martin's raced against Senna and Schumacher.
Now, many people ask me, because I raced against both you and Senna for a long period of time, who is the best? I have an answer that I give them, but I'd really be interested to know your answer.
Oh, that's... I thought that you would be the better person to answer that question, honestly. I mean, I haven't been working close to Senna, and he has been driving in different cars to me, and so I'd rather not judge on that.
The answer I give then is that, in my view, Senna was probably the more naturally gifted driver, but very emotionally driven, and you are more mentally driven and more together as a complete package. What would you say to that?
When Senna was there, he was not very happy seeing other young drivers coming or other drivers coming close to him, and he was trying to prove to anyone, listen, be careful, being behind me or being in front of me, give way, and there's no reason we should do this, and I don't feel like I do this to other drivers. It's not my habit and my attitude, and therefore I believe I will not have such casinos with drivers, and he honestly had a couple of these casinos with other drivers as well.
Just not your style.
Yeah.
You used to give me quite a hard time, in a jokey way, but in quite often you used to say, hey, listen, old man, and give me a hard time. But actually,
you're only not old enough to not to forget it.
You're only 2 years younger now than I was then, and I was much better looking too, I have to tell you. But it goes very quickly, doesn't it? Are you a bit surprised? I mean,
it's true. Yeah. I mean, I keep this comparison. When I arrived in Formula One, my mechanics in Benetton said, "Listen, it's the first time it happened to us that a driver comes is younger than we, the mechanic."
Yeah.
And as I get older, suddenly it happens to me that suddenly mechanics are younger than me, and that's where you see time changes. But I believe I have another couple of years with good potential.
Only 2 more years.
I mean, when I say couple for a German, it means
more than 2.
More
two
than
or
2.
more.
Yeah, 2 or more.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll let you off with that one. Now, I know from talking to you over the years, you're a family man. Family values are very important to you. Is that
correct.
the case?
Yeah, that's why myself and I guess a lot of other people are quite upset. We race on Eastern in Silverstone. I'd rather race a week later and be Eastern home.
It's an issue to you. You're unhappy to be racing at Easter weekend. You'd rather not be.
Honestly, yes.
Okay, comment. Once you've eaten all your chocolate Easter eggs tomorrow morning, what's going to happen in the afternoon in the race? You're 5th on the grid. Do you have a chance?
Certainly. I mean, 5th is not being 15th or 17th, which I have been as well in the past, and still did a good race. So what I want to say is we still have a good opportunity. Rubens 1st, me 5th, in between Häkkinen. It's going to be an entertaining race.
What happens if you catch Barrichello up in the race? Are you going to nail him into a braking area somewhere, or will he have to move?
No, naturally I want to overtake him.
Okay, thanks for talking to us, Michael. Interesting as ever.
Pleasure.
Yes.
Naturally he wants to overtake him. Yeah. Who's the greatest, him or Senna?
I think Senna. I think Senna was the more mature, but he's still improving, and he's got a few. He makes mistakes still, but I think Senna just. But then Fangio to me was the best of the lot. So, where are you?
Well, we know you've got to get on your way. You're a busy man around this circuit as always. Just give us your final thoughts about the British Grand Prix, and you always sort of go out on the fence for us, pick a winner for us, could you?
I'm looking forward to it being at a better time next year. I think in this race I'm very interested to see what Michael does, because Michael, he's a very shrewd man, he's enormous talent, and he's got a great car. I'm here to see it. I hope our viewers will enjoy seeing it, and I'm not going to say who's going to win. No way. I don't know.
A touch of Ferrari red there, if I might put that to you.
Well, yes. Well, actually, Maserati I drove for them as well.
Well, all right. I couldn't quite tell the difference. But anyway, and if Barrichello's up front and Michael Schumacher comes up behind him, what
Michael will take him. Michael, I think Barrichello is fantastic. He's a lovely man. But Michael is Michael. Yeah. And he's going to go, boy.
Great to have you here, Sir Sterling.
Thank you.
As always. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, plenty of support here at Silverstone for the all-British Jaguar team, of course, making their F1 debut and making a very big splash as well. Eddie Irvine starting 9th. Johnny Herbert, winner here back in 95. He's back in 14th and he's had a pretty tough season. He's already had the dreaded vote of confidence from the team bosses. Louise Goodman reporting.
Nürburgring marked a turning point for Johnny Herbert in 1999. After a disappointing start to the season, he took Stewart's maiden victory to end the year on a high. But that win seems like a distant memory. Right now, Johnny's back battling with his old enemy, reliability. Why does Johnny always seem to get the gremlins?
Someone doesn't like me somewhere, and I don't know who it is. And maybe I've ran over a couple of nuns in the past, which I have to say I'm sorry if I did, but I don't know nothing about it. So I don't know. You know, there's no particular thing. Oh, well, it's sort of I get the second-hand wheels or tyres or bits on the car. It's just for some reason the way it happens. It has always happened to me. But it makes things a lot more difficult than it is, and we know how tight it is in the middle of the pack. And if you don't have a particularly good, I don't know, say testing schedule before you get to the Grand Prix, and then you don't have a particular, or you have a troublesome time at the Grand Prix on the Friday or Saturday, you're basically really going to struggle from that point on.
But same as last year, the stories about, oh, is Johnny's seat safe, oh, is he going to stay with the team, they all come up again. What's it like having to deal with that kind of thing?
Well, it's not nice to have, because you're sort of trying to do a job, you're having a lot of problems like last year of reliability, and then you're getting that on top of it, and it does drain you a lot. And again, you're mentally trying to overcome the one problem of trying to get the car to run, and still being motivated and everything to do the job. And then you have another thing, which is always about, yes, is his job safe? But the good thing about this year, which I probably didn't have last year, is Neil Ressler came to me and him and said, well, I don't know what all these rooms are about. I've had journalists come up to me. And we know that there's been a lot of problems on your car, and so we're very aware of that, and we're still very behind you. So having it from Neil is very important to have that. So now I've just got to try. I've got to keep on going testing, hopefully not having any problems. And if I do have the problems, then I've still got to overcome those, and the team's got to overcome those as well.
So, Tony, how about Johnny Herbert? A tough season for him. Are rumours of his demise exaggerated?
I mean, fortunately, as he said, he's been to the team, he's been to Mr. Ressler, the new chairman, and said, look, you know, what's going on? He said, look, it's totally unfounded. And Neil Ressler has apologised to both drivers for not giving them a competitive Jaguar so far. Of course it's getting better. The ironic thing is Johnny did the best job during testing. Johnny is fitter than he's ever been. He's driving as well as he's ever done. But he said, I'm now going to take a new stance to cope with the pressure of Grand Prix racing. And it's basically no more jokey Johnny. And the pity is that the car is letting him down.
And the Jaguar boss is saying basically, we're all in this together. No one's going to be made a scapegoat.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a transition, Jim. Jackie Stewart's stepping down, Neil Ressler's coming in, and they've still got a lot of internal organisation to get right.
OK, thank you, Tony. Let's drive round Silverstone now in Jordan. The Jordan team based just across the road here. It is their 150th Grand Prix. We're going to go around with Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who is starting on the front row, and it's Martin to talk you around.
On board with Frentzen for his front row lap of yesterday, 190 miles an hour towards Cobbs. Listen, just flicks down the gearbox, straight back on the pass, so narrow on the exit, building up speed once again. 170, 175 miles an hour. Does he lift the throttle? Absolutely amazing, despite the dampness on the track. 135 down now to 100 for the last part of Beckett. Easily on the throttle, sweeping through the left-hander onto the hanger straight. Diagonal out, shortest route be on the left-hand side for the famous Stowe corner. Look how late he brakes. And now turns the car in. It's sliding a little bit. He's got it back under control. Bump up the curb on the left and build up to 170 miles an hour over the crest of Vale. Brake late. Come down the gearbox across the sawtooth curb. And now be patient. Be very, very patient. All of a sudden there's some grip and you can bury the throttle and go up the hill towards the Abbey chicane. 180 miles an hour, often easy to brake, depends on the wind direction, but then launch across the curbs on the inside, tremendous grip in the middle, full acceleration on the exit towards Bridge, 160 miles an hour, listen to the throttle. A gentle, gentle lift into Priory, carry about 100 miles an hour through here and straight back on the throttle again before Brooklands. That's calm, it's very, very calm. Squirt the throttle towards Luffield, but be careful on the way in. Frentzen struggling to get into that apex. Now he's okay. Into the pit straight once again. Sweep through the right-hander of Woodcote. Just flick your fingers on the gear shift lever. You're over the line. Good lap.
What a fantastic ride that was with Heinz-Harald Frentzen. So the sun continuing to shine. 35 minutes to go to the start of the British Grand Prix on Easter Sunday at Silverstone. Well, we've just said goodbye to Sir Sterling Moss, a British motor racing legend. Stick around, though. There's another coming right up in Murray Meets.
Murray, good evening. How was it morning?
Well, welcome back.
Thanks, Murray.
We've missed you. Have you missed us?
No. Yeah, absolutely, man. I've especially missed you.
Yeah. And the scene, the Grand Prix scene, after it was so much a part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's still part of my life. I mean, walking up and down the pit lane now and seeing, you know, a lot of good old friends, especially the reporters, the Italian ones especially, have been fantastic here this morning.
Look, cast your mind back to the racing days. Four times a winner in the British Grand Prix. Five.
4 British Grand Prix, 1 European.
Oh yeah, but I said British Grand Prix. What British Grand Prix? 86, fantastic at Brands Hatch, because you showed Nelson Piquet the way around, and then you did the same thing again here the next year.
Yeah.
When the race had finished, you weren't allowed to do a parade lap in a car. You got on the back of a police motorcycle. You got him to stop at Stowe, and you got off and you kissed the ground. Now, was that something you'd thought about before, or was it purely spontaneous?
Well, you see, I get accused of being boring all the time, so I was told I couldn't go on a victory lap, so we got on the back of a police bike. This is the kind of thing a boring guy goes, you see. So I thought, if they're going to arrest me, I'm with a police officer already.
Well, now, you're not going to be here tomorrow, unfortunately, so you say. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it'll be a great race. I think that from the race point of view, it should be a fantastic race. Obviously, you know, my heart goes out to all the fans and the infrastructure of everything, because, I mean, in conditions like this, it makes things very, very difficult. But the race itself, I think a small mistake, if it's going to be the same conditions tomorrow, which is likely, a small mistake can become a big mistake. But, you know, you got the top 4 drivers there at the front.
People are saying 3 wins, Schumacher's got it made. I don't think he has.
No, I mean, because, you know, people must never underestimate McLaren. I mean, they've got the speed and they'll have the reliability. They're right there. Mika, I think, is hungry. I mean, to do the triple would be fantastic for him. You've got 2 people with 2 world championships each going for the championship. David's there. He's just got to believe in himself a little bit more. I mean, he can do something.
What do you think? First impressions of what you've read and maybe seen of the new boy, Jenson Button?
Yeah, I mean, everyone. I mean, I sent him a congratulatory letter.
Oh, did you?
A few months ago. Yeah. I don't know whether he got it. I never said it. Well, just getting the drive, and you know, I told him to stay on the black bits if he could, because it helps. But I met him this morning. He's a very nice young man. I think he's done very, very well. Just finishing a race and getting a few points in the first year is terrific. But it's like, and it's too early, Murray. I mean, there's a lot of experience. He's got to learn a lot of the circuits. And it'll take time, but I mean, he's with a fantastic team. I mean, the Williams team, there's 3 or 4 great teams to be with, and he's with one of them, and I feel sure he'll get a lot of help and assistance.
Having come back, may we see you some more?
Well, I don't know, Murray. It depends if I get invited.
You're always going to be invited. Nice to see you again,
thank
Nigel.
you, Murray.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll invite him back if we can afford him, won't we? But he produced Mansell Mania here over the years, and this is always a special place for the British drivers, Tony.
Very, very special. They get a lift from the crowd, which we've talked about. But that guy there, from 86 British Grand Prix on till 92, he set the fastest lap in each of those Grand Prix, whether he was second, whether he retired, or whether he won, which he did 4 times. And he will talk about the boost you can get from seeing the flags, from almost hearing the cheers through your crash helmet and above the noise of the engine. Amazing feeling, and Button's going to feel that for the first time today.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. All sorts of characters around this race, the British Grand Prix. A great place to come to and be seen at. Naomi Campbell and 1 or 2 of her pals.
Well, this is the glamorous world of Formula One, and I've just found supermodel Jodie Kidd having a look around the Arrows garage. What did you think? You're impressed?
Amazing. This is my first Formula One I've been to, and I'm completely gobsmacked by the whole thing. It's unbelievable.
Why? Why are you gobsmacked? What's so strange about it?
It's just, it's outrageous. The organisation, everything about it is just incredible. Incredible.
And you're staying for the race this afternoon, I presume?
Absolutely, I can't wait.
You're here with Arrows. Are you cheering for them, or have you got another favourite?
No, I'm faithful. I'm going for Arrows. I hope they do well.
Where are you going to be watching the race from?
From the grandstand up there. I'm not quite sure. It's all very new to me, but...
Well, at least the sun's out today. You're not going to get rained on.
It's beautiful.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you very much.
Jodie Kidd there, as you model spotters would undoubtedly know. Half an hour to go then to the off. He's still got plenty to come before the start. Martin Brundle wandering around up and down the grid, seeing who he can lay his hands on. One or two very interesting characters in store, I can assure you. And Michael Owen has been going for a spin around Silverstone as well. Lovely day still. Rejoin us in a couple of minutes. And welcome back to Silverstone. Around about 25 minutes to go to the start of the British Grand Prix. The cars out on their installation lap. Jenson Button among the first to go, Tony. And is this sort of worrying moments? I think we'll see Jenson coming into a shot at the moment. Or is he just practicing a start here?
Yeah, I mean, he may have a little problem. Who knows? He may have just switched something off. But we suspect that he actually just dropped the clutch there and warmed up the tyres a bit, because you're not allowed to. There we are. Lit up the rear tyres. Get a bit of heat into them, just feel the bite of the clutch. You're not allowed to do it on the track on your way around, because in the old days you used to stop and light up the tyres, and that's illegal.
A reminder for you, Button starting on the third row alongside Michael Schumacher. One or two little facts and figures about Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, that might just help your enjoyment this afternoon. First one held here in May 1950, so a 50th birthday this time round. The only other time the British Grand Prix has been held outside July is this one in April. We're all hoping we go back to July next year. Mika Hakkinen has never won the British Grand Prix, and he has tried 8 times, as we've been saying. Happy birthday to Jordan, very much their home race, their base just around about half a mile away over the road, the 150th Grand Prix. And Mika Hakkinen's got to do a lot of catching up this season, and if you can see how Michael Schumacher scores, you can see what a task faces the Finn if he's to retain his world title. Right then, what sort of strategy can we expect in the race this afternoon? 2 stops is very much the norm around this place. Our strategy man is James.
Well, Jim, we saw at Imola that the tactics and the race strategy actually became the story of the race, and I think it'll be exactly the same here today. Michael Schumacher's in 5th place, Coulthard's 4th, Mika Hakkinen in 3rd. They've all got to do something different from each other to get themselves to the front. It's a 2-stop race traditionally, but I think the tyre wear here is so low, you'll see longer stints at different stages of the race. So a lot of different variations on the 2-stop theme. But let's not discount Rubens Barrichello and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. They're on the front row of the grid, and they'd very much like to stay there. Judging by the warm-up this morning, it looks as though Frentzen was trying a heavier fuel load. So watch out for him running a longer, very long first stint. Critical thing to watch out for at the pit stops is how long the fuel nozzle is attached to the car. For every second it's attached, it's delivering enough fuel for 4 laps, so watch out for it.
We will be, and looking forward to James's reports from the pits throughout the British Grand Prix. Jenson, megastar Button, what an impact he has made in his arrival in the world of Formula One, just 20, and his first British Grand Prix just over 20 minutes away. Well, have a little look at that. And those queues, well, they just go for miles and miles and miles. Having had a brief taste of one of them this morning, you get inside there, the old blood level does start pumping. It is not a pleasant place to be, and everyone there has my sympathy. If anyone's got a mobile phone, you know anyone that is in there, say pull off and find a telly pronto, because I don't think you're going to make it. All right. Let's take a look behind the scenes, shall we, at Jaguar, spin round Silverstone with Michael Owen. Here's Louise again.
Football star Michael Owen knows a bit about Jaguars. He drives one himself, but he'd never seen one like this before. Owen had his first taste of Formula One at the pre-race test, and it certainly seemed to catch his interest.
On an average lap here, would the normal race day be how many seconds quicker?
Well,
do they go absolutely flat out on this one?
Yeah, they would, yeah. But in the wet, it's probably, today's probably about 12 seconds slower.
Just to go in and see all the different parts and how the body is broken down, and how can you take bits off and all these different things was mind-boggling.
Part of the VIP treatment, a chance to try Johnny Herbert's race car for size and a quick run-through of an F1 racing machine from the man himself. Owen was pretty impressed with Johnny's Jaguar, even if he hadn't quite grasped all the technical jargon.
This is your one, isn't it? Yeah. As if you're lying down, just with your head sticking out. I mean, your legs really go down, quite far down the bonnet. That's how I call it. I don't know what the technical name is. But yeah, your legs go right down, and you're so close to the floor. I mean, I couldn't go 50 mile an hour in one of them, I don't think.
But the highlight of his day was a high-speed trip round Silverstone in the new XKR.
First thing I'm doing. That's our no trust. Huh? Bit of smoke.
So you got one of these, yeah?
I have, yeah. And I didn't know it went that fast, so.
First corner. Cops. This is really good now because it's so wide, the exit. This track's so grippy nowadays, which is good.
It's grippy now?
Yeah, it never used to be. Into Beckett's. This is nearly flat enough qualifying through then. Then get 6th, then we're sort of down to 4th over that curb. This is important because it's onto the straight. Come on. Need a manual. This is what we need.
No, we're coming.
Coming.
We were standing.
Yeah, a bit further round.
Yeah.
Oh, you came here as well?
Came round a couple of places.
Oh,
yeah, that's where Schumacher went.
That's the one.
Yeah, we were standing there then.
Yeah. No, we get about up to nearly 200 when we come into there, which is good. Okay, this is Vale.
Fantastic.
There's a bit of anti-lock brakes. They flick a bit.
I thought they went much more. I mean,
You want more?
I go out.
You want
no,
more?
I thought. I mean, I don't mean fast. I mean the back end.
Oh,
I can go about 30 mile an hour. Mine can go.
Oh right. Oh well.
You're going to go 120, and it's.
It really ought to be. If there's been a lorry or a bus about, then you'll be in big trouble. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't like diesel, these tyres.
Do these white and blue things make you skid more?
When they're wet, yes.
That is brilliant. Bloody hell.
I don't like the dampness in these
I
tyres.
can't believe how safe I feel. Not tempted, so I thought I would be.
Good. It's just nice because it's wide and there's nothing else coming the other way as well. Back in the pits. But they're a safe old car, I'll give it that. A bit of smoke.
My white.
Johnny Herbert disregarding the no smoking signs there. Terrific ride for Michael Owen. Brief look at Jos Verstappen, who's and Rubens Barrichello, our pole sitter. What is it, Brazil's 500th birthday or something, isn't it, Tony? He's going to celebrate tonight.
Yeah, he hopes to give the Brazilians a big birthday present by winning his first ever Grand Prix, and he could do that, couldn't he? But such a smooth driver, but so many miles he's put in here at Silverstone, you know, testing with Jordan, testing with Stewart, you know, Formula 3 champion. He spent all his youth here as a young driver in UK, and this is the place, of course, to come if you're an overseas driver, particularly from South America. They start their careers here, as Rubens did.
But nothing's really changed at Ferrari, has it? I mean, if Barrichello is up front and Michael Schumacher is behind him, he has to pull over and let him go, doesn't he?
Well, not according to Luca Di Montezemolo, Ferrari president. He says we don't have a number 1 and a number 2 driver anymore. We have a number 1 and a number 1A. And there's Eddie Irvine.
There is Eddie Irvine, and down there on the grid alongside him, I'm sure we have Martin Brundle, surrounded by one or two interesting characters. Martin.
Hi, how are you? Welcome to the grid. Pandemonium down there. People have had a little time to get their cars ready. A good friend of mine and a very, very special guest here today. on our grid walk is His Majesty the King of Spain. Hello, sir. Very good to see you again. Now, I know you're very into Formula One racing. It's great to see you here in Great Britain. What are you looking for today? Have you a favourite who you'd like to see win this race?
Well, you should know that I like, because you took me around in the circuit of Montbello, and I had a wonderful time. And I was invited by Mr. Sopwith, who's a good friend. And I'm very keen in looking at these races, and we have 2 Spaniards, and I'm very hopeful that they will do as better as they can.
Yes, Genet and De La Rosa are doing a very good job this year, especially. You have good memories of your trip in a Formula One car, yes?
Very good. That's why I was very happy to see you and very happy to talk to you.
Okay, one more thing. I understand you've got Bernie Ecclestone gave to you a Mercedes-Benz exactly like the pace car we see here in Formula One, and you drive it around Spain. Is that true?
Yes, I like it very much. Very good car.
Thank you, sir, for talking to us. Good to see you again. Thank you. Well, I saw another celebrity on the grid I'd like a quick word with is Stephen Fry. Stephen, what do you do? We live somewhere near each other in Norfolk, I think. I don't know how we met in soggy Northampton.
Yeah, in fact, I was watching some racing at Snetterton only last Sunday. Watched Rowan Atkinson in the Intermark doing reasonably well, came 12th, I think.
So you're another petrol head. I heard that you're into classic cars, Formula One and bowls. Is that correct?
I love bowls. I love bowls. I draw to a very good backhand.
Oh, really? Well, we've got some similarities between bowls and Formula One. We have a Jack in Jack Villeneuve, but we don't have any balls.
You've got more balls than almost any other sport I can think of. I was impressed by how good-looking His Majesty the King of Spain is. I always thought that the rain in Spain stayed mainly with the plane, but obviously not.
Oh, very good, but I wouldn't like to comment on that, actually, but he's
One Carlos word and you're dead.
He's a seriously nice man, I wouldn't say that.
No, he's charming.
But, so, what are you doing here? What are you...
Well, I do love motorsport. I watch it every Sunday. I mean, every other Sunday, obviously. I adore the sport, and I admire these people. I'm very keen, obviously. I think, like a lot of people, for McLaren to do well this week. I think it would be really terrific for the whole season, let alone because I admire Ron Dennis so much and his whole team. I just love to see them do well. OK,
well, it's great to see you on the grid. We're going to go back to the studio briefly.
Thanks, Martin. Knights of the Realm, kings and kings admirers. We give you them all in the pre-race build-up. Jean Alesi, so experienced, but just one Grand Prix victory for him, and the Prost only not suggesting they're going to change that record here today.
No, we're looking at Rubens Barrichello, but just Alesi, if it does rain and showers are forecast for this afternoon, you're likely to see the wet weather displays of Jean Alesi. I wonder if he could win one ever in the wet, because he is superlative in the wet. But also, and there's Herbert getting ready to get into his car, talking to his engineer. You know, Barrichello's also very good in the wet as well, so we have to see what the weather does.
Thank you, Tony. That's what we're all wondering. It looks OK at the moment. Let's go back down to Martin. He's with a fellow I played football with at Wembley last Sunday, I think, Martin. I did. I played with him last Sunday.
I believe you, Jim. I believe you. I wasn't disagreeing with that.
Staggered.
Well, there's only one place to go after His Majesty the King of Spain, and that's Chris Evans, of course. Christoph, what's happening? What are you doing, and who are you supporting, and what are you looking for today? Did you get in all right?
Got in all right, yeah. The fog came down, and all the posh people with the helicopters were having a hard time of it. A few complaints going on. They had to get the coaches in, travel with the poor people. But everybody seems to have got in now. I'm with Jordan, so I'm supporting the Jordan boys, and but also I'm having a look out for Jensen as well. Yeah.
Having a look with Jensen now. So you've got a man on the front row of the grid then with Frentzen. So you think you've got a chance in this race, yeah, with your team?
Well, yeah, Eddie Jordan's legendary for his party here, as you know that, at Silverstone, but he's not having one this year unless they get on the podium, so they've got to get on the podium.
Right, the national anthem's playing. We've got to stop it there. Thanks for talking to us.
Well, we've had our moments here over the last couple of days, but everyone who can get here is inside for the British Grand Prix, just over 10 minutes away. Let's go back down there to Martin.
Well, we've talked to some famous people, but Jensen says he would talk to me. Now he says he won't talk to me. You'll have a quick word, won't you? Jensen, what's going through your mind? You're a third row of the grid. You're next to Michael Schumacher on the grid. What's going on?
I just really can't wait to get the race underway, really. We've got another 20 minutes now, and I just can't wait to get out there and do my job. But I'm sure the start's going to be very interesting, starting alongside Michael and his brother, just at the rear. So I'm looking forward to it.
You need to take your watch off so you don't keep looking at it. But you amaze me. You seem to have one emotional level at all times, whatever you're doing. Whatever you do, you just seem to be totally calm. Is that the way you've always been?
This makes me sound really boring. Thank you very much, Martin.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's impressive. That, I mean, you should be here sort of like panicking and, you know, keep looking and wandering around and all that sort of thing. You just seem totally calm.
Good at hiding it, I think. I think that's the main thing.
All right, any tactics, any ideas what you're going to do for today?
Really just drive my own race, hopefully get a good result, but we'll see what happens. It's good for me to just finish the race, I think.
All right, you got
get some more miles under my belt.
You going to pay any attention to Michael Schumacher to your left, or just drive your own race?
I think you've got to treat them, all the drivers, with the same amount of respect. I'm not going to treat them any differently, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, I want to try and find, thank you Jensen, good luck. I want to try and find Michael Schumacher. He said today, because he's got a contract with German TV, he said today he may talk to us, but he came to the grid very late. Let's give it a try, Keith. The worst he can say is no. We've been turned down before. Mikey, we're too late, yeah? Too late? You're a star. Have to talk, no, you've got to talk louder. So, can you make it 4 in a row? You're 5th on the grid.
Obviously, the position we're going to start off is the more difficult one, but it's my target. I want to do it.
Do you think the new electronics here are going to make any difference to the start, to how the people get away from the start line, the new changes here?
It will be interesting for some teams to see what happens, whether something happens, but I don't know right now. Not for us.
Okay, well, good luck anyway. Thanks for talking to us. Well, you don't get any closer than that than talking to the World Championship leader just before he starts the British Grand Prix. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, well done, Martin. How could Michael Schumacher give you a 9 after all these years? What about Jensen Button, though? I mean, boring he ain't, Tony. I mean, he's so cool. It's unbelievable.
He is very cool, but he still remembers that he's got a point to prove. He's got a lot of work to do because he knows, you know, that waiting in the wings are other drivers, and Williams will have to make a decision on him quite soon, whether they take him up for next year, because Montoya is in the States. He's contracted to Williams. He could make it come back next year, so the pressure is on. But I think if Williams don't make a decision quickly, there are lots of other teams waiting out there to grab Jensen Button, because there's no doubt in a lot of people's minds, experts' mind, the guy really has got it. Very impressive young man.
And there's another impressive young man, winner last year. Can he do it again?
There's no reason why not. I think the crowd will give him a big lift. As I say, just looking down from here, we've seen a lot of the Soltires here. We've seen a lot of the Union Jacks, a lot of support for him. He's with Heidi Wichlinski. That's his girlfriend, lives with him in Monte Carlo. She's a supermodel, super lady, supports him all the way. It'd be great to see him having great results. It was lovely seeing him on the podium last year. He got very emotional about it, sort of swallowing the lumps there. And Pedro de la Rosa, supported by his king, of course, come to see him here. And he was very fast, second fast in the warm-up this morning.
And the bearded Rubens.
Yes, bearded Rubens Barrichello. He's overdue a win, isn't he? You know, he's been in Grand Prix racing a long time now, since '93 in South Africa when he made his debut. And he's still, you know, a very young man at 27 years of age. He thinks he's a veteran now. Well, he is the youngest veteran on the grid.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. So there we are, very nearly time for the British Grand Prix. Last year, director Keith Mackenzie's coverage won this award. Coverage of the British Grand Prix voted the best in the world by the international broadcasters. And ITV will have more of the same coming right up. It's the British Grand Prix live from Silverstone on ITV. James Allen and Louise Goodman are patrolling the pits. In the commentary box we have Martin Brundle, who's driven in nearly 160 Grand Prix, and the Big Easter Bunny of Formula One, Murray Walker.
Don't know about the Big Easter Bunny, Jim. Used to go to the Bunny Club in Park Lane quite a lot, but my wife's watching the programme, so enough of that. Let's talk about the British Grand Prix. Great day. Great occasion. Look at the crowd. There's a lot more of them outside, and I do hope they're going to get in. It's a funny old feeling being here in April when we're used to being here and feeling the sun biting into our bone marrow at Silverstone. We've been having the rain driving onto our skin at Silverstone, but mercy of mercies, the weather gods are smiling on us today. The sun is shining, the tarmac is dry, the sky is blue. The 22 drivers and their cars are on the grid, ready for 60 laps. The 4th Grand Prix of the year. Now, we've already had one run broken, that of Mika Häkkinen that you're looking at now. Mika Häkkinen was in pole position for the Australian Grand Prix, the Brazilian Grand Prix and the San Marino Grand Prix, but not at Silverstone. In pole position is Rubens Barrichello. Now, is the other run going to be broken today? Michael Schumacher won in Australia, in Brazil and in San Marino at Imola. That was an incredible run of victories, although Nigel Mansell won 5 in a row at the beginning of the year in 1992. There is Michael Schumacher. He is 5th on the grid, and the big question is what is going to happen at the start? Because ahead of him are his 2 main rivals in the World Championship, David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen. Yes, I know they're a long way behind him at the present moment, but there are still 14 races to go after this one, 13 races to go after this one, and I'm sure they're going to catch up. Now, a lot of people will be rooting for Ferrari all around the world, but a heck of a lot of people will be rooting for McLaren as well. And they've had a rough time in the first 3 races of this year. Engine trouble for Mika Häkkinen in the first 2. He finished 2nd at San Marino. But they are desperately looking for points. They are 29 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. And of course, Michael Schumacher, with 30 World Championship points, is 24 points ahead of his nearest McLaren rival, Mika Häkkinen. So this is a crucial race for McLaren, but ahead of the McLarens, of course, are not only Rubens Barrichello, who richly deserves his first World Championship win in Grand Prix racing. He started in 1993, as you just heard Tony Jardine say. But ahead of the 2 McLarens too are Heinz-Harald Frentzen in his Jordan. And that's a car which is very well suited to this track. The Mugen Honda engine has got the power in the right place, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen has already won 3 Grand Prix this year, 2 of them last year for Jordan. So it is a wide open race.
Should be very exciting. It's great to see Schumacher actually now back on the 3rd row. We'll see if there's any overtaking to be done in Formula One now. Sorry, I've had a puff, just run a long way. But he's got to get past those 2 McLarens. Coulthard looked very strong in the warm-up. They're all denying that there'll be any difference on the start with these new electronics, because they're saying, well, our car didn't have them anyway, so it doesn't affect us. But I'm pretty sure it does. Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them were using systems to help get the car away. So the track is very green. We've had a lot of rain, as you know. Some other cars racing on the track, some older cars which tend to tear up the Formula One rubber with their hard tyres. Formula 3000's running in the wet yesterday, and the drivers were all complaining of lack of grip because the circuit is very, very green, as we call it.
Well, they were here last week, of course, testing. So although it's been mostly wet, but some dry periods in the last couple of days, they had plenty of time last week to work out the best dry settings as well as the best wet settings in the last couple of days. You saw something there that I haven't seen on this trip before. Heat haze, would you believe? And away they go on the installation lap. There are 60 racing laps here at Silverstone.
Because that's the only time you see the green light now on the start these days, is to say, go on to that warm-up lap, formation lap, whatever you like to call it. And unusually, of course, here, the start line is in a different place to the finish line. So they start halfway down the pit straight, but the finish of the race is as you come, just finish sweeping out of Woodcote in the original position. And that's what caught Michael Schumacher out yesterday. I was talking to him last night. He thought he'd started a new lap for his final go at qualifying by half or 1 second. But of course the lights are on over the other line, which is about 300 metres down the track. I think he could have carried on, but it certainly cost him a final shot at that pole position, hence he's back in 5th.
Well, Rubens Barrichello in the scarlet Ferrari, leading Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the yellow Jordan around Club Corner, which is just about halfway round the lap. He's gone down the hanger straight in Stowe through the fearsome collection of bends of Beckett's. He's coming up to the left and right at Abbey, which is quite slow for 55 miles an hour on the apex. Then out of the right-hander at Abbey, up to the complex of corners at Bridge. That you see him going, and they take that corner at 150 miles an hour. It is awe-inspiring. Now into the two left-handers, Priory and Brooklands, and you can see that the competitors are closing up now. Rubens is slowing down so that he's got them all behind him as much as possible when he stops on the grid, because he and the people at the front, well, none of them for that matter, will be wanting to sit there with the clutch out and the engine running for any longer than they have to. So right down at the grid, right at the back, are Marc Genet and Gaston Mazzacane in the two Minardis. They're bringing up the rear of the field again. I remind you that on the third row of the grid, ahead of his more experienced teammate Ralf Schumacher, is Jenson Button in the Williams BMW. He put up a terrific qualifying lap yesterday, and it's put him on the third row of the grid. So through that heat haze drives Rubens Barrichello in front of us to take up his position on the left-hand side of the grid. Frentzen peels across to the right. It's quite a decent run down to Copse Corner compared with some of the tracks. And now they peel off to the right, those who are occupying the right-hand side of the track. It's a staggered formation as ever.
You see the it's just cut away with the yellow line by Coulthard's front wheel as their marker, because you're sitting quite deep into the cockpit. You can't really see too clearly, very near to the car. So that yellow line outside there of Coulthard's car is to let him know where to park his front wheel. So the sensors underneath his seat are in line with the sensors in the racetrack, the lights.
And when the fifth one goes out, Silverstone will be go! Barrichello leads away well. Frentzen second, and Schumacher sprinting up alongside the two McLarens. But Jenson Button is right behind him. And so it is Barrichello, it is Frentzen, it is the two McLarens.
Yes, but Murray, Michael got squeezed out. Hakkinen put the squeeze on Michael Schumacher, and he actually then dropped back some places. I think Coulthard's the leader of the two McLarens in third and fourth, but as you can clearly see, Barrichello and Frentzen away beautifully. Michael had the best of the start, but then had to yield. That makes a change.
Yes, so Michael Schumacher is in sixth position, and Barrichello, of course, has got a dry track, a clear track in front of him. The two Minardis are still last, of course, and thankfully, as they go down into club, they're all away.
And Ralf Schumacher just outbraked his brother. Michael tried to move into Stowe, which would be a touch of deja vu from last year, decided to back off, and now Ralf, his brother, outbraked him into Vale, and he slipped yet another place. Look at the pair of them in the background there, and Ralf maintains that position. A disastrous first lap. Ralf running a little bit wide there. Disastrous first lap for Michael Schumacher, but he's coming back at his brother. Barrichello leads into Priory.
And now into Brooklands. You can see there's quite a gap developing now between the first 5 cars and that gaggle of cars for sixth position as Rubens Barrichello leads out at the end of lap 1. It's Barrichello, Frentzen, Coulthard, Hakkinen, and then
Jenson Button is 5th, Murray, followed by Villeneuve, and then Michael Schumacher has dropped behind his brother in 8th place. So Ralf up to 7th, Verstappen 9th, and Jarno Trulli tops out the top 10.
So Michael Schumacher down in 8th position, and already Jenson Button, who is in that leading 5, has gained 1 place at the expense of Michael Schumacher. He started alongside his hero, could hardly believe his eyes when he saw that it was happening yesterday, and now he is ahead of him. Down they come, and there is Button, and there's a battle developing behind Jenson Button.
Yes, that was Ralf making a move on Villeneuve. I don't know whether he got through. Yes, he did. Ralf Schumacher takes Villeneuve into Stowe, so he moves up into that 6th place.
So, already the race is starting to develop into a pattern. 5 up at the front, then there's more, and right down to Mazzacane, who was running last week, with Frentzen now, and that is Rubens Barrichello's Ferrari ahead of us, and it's out of Abbey, now up to Bridge, the 150-mile-an-hour right-hander. Barrichello, Frentzen, Prix, the left-hander, and the gap between the two of them at the end of that previous lap was just 0.4 of a second. Barrichello, Frentzen, Coulthard, Hakkinen, Button, Villeneuve. So Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is in 6th position ahead of Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher, the two brothers. Now, can Michael do anything about the Williams BMW? Because Michael Schumacher is in a much more powerful motor car, but his brother is very determined indeed, and he can't. Villeneuve is ahead of the Ferrari.
Yes, Ralf Schumacher, the fastest lap of the race there by over half a second. So Ralph's got a bit of clear air. He will very quickly be up behind Jenson Button in 5th place. The two Williams absolutely flying in the warm-up this morning, looking very, very well balanced in these dry conditions. Hakkinen appears to be struggling a little bit in the early stages, and now Coulthard slipping back from Frentzen too.
I am amazed that Michael Schumacher is down where he is. He must have some sort of a problem. This is not tactics, it's not strategy.
Now, Michael has just got the bad end of the stick on every move he's tried so far. Flew off the line, got pushed out by Hakkinen, then tried to take Villeneuve, lost out again. On the rebound, Ralf took him, and, well, it's just all gone wrong for Michael Schumacher down there in 8th place.
1.7 seconds covers the first 4. Jenson Button is 0.7 of a second behind them, with Ralf Schumacher the fastest on the track. And the Williams BMWs, the two cars there, have surprised us a lot this season. They're continuing to do so here at Silverstone. The brand new BMW engine is doing an absolutely fantastic job, and both of them are in the top 6. Jenson Button 5th. Ralf Schumacher is in 6th position, and it looks to me visually as though Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari there, as he bursts out of Woodcote, has increased his lead slightly over Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's...
Ralf Schumacher fastest man again. So here's the start look, and watch the second red car look of Michael Schumacher. They touched twice. That's why Schumacher had to get out of the throttle. Hakkinen and Schumacher touched twice. Hakkinen stayed on the gas. Michael had to yield, and then that cost him some time.
Here it is again. Look at there's Schumacher. Hakkinen moves across on him. They touched. I'm just wondering whether it's deranged Schumacher's Ferrari suspension slightly.
Here's a better view. Look now. Oh, they were so... Actually, they didn't quite touch. It just looked like they did from that high shot, but a closer shot, and they just got extremely close. A little bit of one-upmanship going on there, and Mick is saying, no way, buddy, I need these points more than you. You're a long way ahead of us. And Michael really pushed quite heavily onto the grass. Normally, he'd have got away with that, but we all know just how wet the grass is around here.
That 4 out of 60, here it is from Heinz-Harald Frentzen's point of view. There is Rubens Barrichello sprinting away down to Copse Corner, with the Jordan tucked up behind him. The Ferrari pulling away a little on. Now we're with David Coulthard. Now look at David Coulthard. On the left is Hakkinen. David Coulthard moves across to get behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen. We can't see what's happening to Hakkinen, who is just behind us, but that is where Coulthard got his 3rd position, because he started 4th on the grid. So he's had a better start than Mika Hakkinen, and it's still Barrichello at the end of the 4th lap. He led previously by 0.8 of a second. You can see what it is visually. The yellow Jordan is 2nd, and David Coulthard is gaining very slightly on Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Hakkinen is not gaining on David Coulthard. Jenson Button and Ralf Schumacher are both 0.6 of a second behind Mika Hakkinen, who is in 4th position. So now look at this, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and here we are. Now look at Jenson Button in the background. Jenson Button there, and Ralf Schumacher goes through and takes Jacques Villeneuve. So Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW taking Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR Honda, and he's still ahead of him. Schumacher 6th, Villeneuve 7th, Michael Schumacher in 8th position is now 8.8 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello that you're looking at. Frentzen, Coulthard, Hakkinen, Button, Schumacher, and Jenson Button is still that 6/10 of a second behind, and there is Ralf Schumacher in 6th position. So, Ferrari leads, Jordan second, and we're with Frentzen now. The 2 McLarens, 3rd and 4th. The 2 Williams BMWs, 5th and 6th. Villeneuve's BAR is 7th, and Michael Schumacher is 8th.
Yes, Michael appears to be slightly off the pace, but I think he's just in that slipstream position behind Villeneuve, and he's having to basically lap at Villeneuve's pace, which is over 1 second per lap off the pace of the leaders. I don't think it's necessarily because Michael's got a lot more fuel on board. Certainly took off the line like he wasn't quite so heavy, or especially heavy, I should say. So Michael tucked up behind Villeneuve at the moment. Doesn't appear to be able to do anything about it at all. There they are. And look, Verstappen hanging on to Michael Schumacher in the Arrows.
Yeah, the Arrows is going extremely well here. Last year, Tom Walkinshaw's team, Arrows, concentrated on developing this year's car. They hadn't got a big enough budget. Michael Schumacher having a look at Villeneuve, tearing off a strip from his visor, but Jos Verstappen holding on in this new car that's been developed by the Arrows team at Leafield. And this year it's got a Super Tech engine, and it's a very, very quick motor car. Jos Verstappen has been out of Grand Prix racing last year. He's back with a bang.
It's so unusual to see Michael losing out in those first lap battles. We normally expect him to be the one making the moves, but just didn't pay off for him today. And now Ralph's pretty much got in the slipstream of Jensen, and he's lost a little bit of his momentum and inertia. They're all now lapping between 1:29.3 and 1:29.6. That whole leading gaggle, which is why they're so close together.
Going to be very interesting to see what happens with Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button. They are teammates, and one thing you mustn't do with your teammate is to collide with him. You shouldn't collide with anybody, but certainly not with your teammate. But Ralf Schumacher was not at all happy that for the second time in 4 races this year, Jenson Button out-qualified him here at Silverstone, and Button is ahead of him now, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen has just made the fastest lap of the race, as you see, 1:29.18, and that compares with last year, 1:28.3 by Mika Häkkinen. So Frentzen is starting to close on Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher is closing on Jenson Button.
Well, there you see the amount that Michael Schumacher was behind. It's the whole length of the Hangar Straight. As the leaders turned into Stowe, Michael was just coming through Church onto the Hangar Straight.
Quick word now about stops and strategy. You heard James Allen. We're probably expecting 2 stops. Now, if you do it mathematically, those 2 stops would be on laps 20 and 40 in this 60-lap race. But as you also heard James say, there's going to be all sorts of different 2 stops. Some people will stop early for their first stop, some will stop very late, and it's going to be difficult to get a coherent picture of the race until much later.
Yes, and the Ferrari team will be now recalculating what to do with Michael Schumacher. This could not have been in their game plan at all, and they're going to wonder how they can at some point widen the window of those stops and find him a bit of clear air so he can close down that 11-second gap he's got to the leaders. James, what can you tell us?
Well, I think he's in big trouble, to be honest, Martin. It's going to be very, very difficult. I also think he did take a knock in that Häkkinen incident. I'm in the Ferrari garage, and I said to them, it looked like they very nearly touched, didn't they? And then one of the Ferrari guys looked at me and said, listen, mate, they did touch. So I think maybe he's carrying something on that car, not quite sure. But either way, we're looking at a long first stint here for sure. The target lap time for a normal 2-stop is about 1:28.7, and they're a little bit off that, so I think they're carrying a bit more fuel than the standard divided into 3 race. So you're looking for a first stop sometime around 23 to 26 is my guess.
Depends which camera angle you looked at, James. I'm not sure they did touch, and if they did, it was in areas that are not really that vulnerable. The suspension, the carbon fibre suspension, is either absolutely fine or it's broken and the wheels flying around. So I'd be surprised if he's got any kind of mechanical or suspension derangement, and certainly there's nothing hanging off the car at this time. Michael just appears to be nailed back there in Villeneuve's slipstream, but falling back slightly, now 7/10 behind.
Lap 8 out of 60, we're with Frentzen, who is in 2nd place. You can see Rubens Barrichello ahead, 9/10 of a second. David Coulthard has just made a very quick lap. He's half a second behind us in Frentzen's car. Mika Häkkinen is 8/10 of a second behind him. Jenson Button Button is just under a second behind Mika Häkkinen. Ralf Schumacher is 1.1 seconds behind Jenson Button, who's just made the fastest lap of the race. So the young Jenson Button is on the move. He's only 0.4 of a second now behind Mika Häkkinen. There's Häkkinen, there is Button, and there's quite a big gap behind Jenson to Ralf Schumacher. Now, completing the top 10, Jacques Villeneuve is 7th, Schumacher is 8th, Verstappen is 9th, and Jarno Trulli is in 10th position. Lap 9, no retirements. There is Häkkinen and Jenson Button. Now, you remember when Jenson spoke to Martin just before the race, he quite coolly said, I'm looking forward to my first British Grand Prix. I can't wait to get into the race. He's got into the race. He stayed ahead of Ralf Schumacher. He has passed Michael Schumacher, the double world champion in the Ferrari, and he's closing on double world champion Mika Häkkinen as you look at Jenson Button now. Barrichello, Frentzen, Coulthard, Häkkinen, Button, and Ralf Schumacher.
Coulthard beginning to press Frentzen once again, and Button's, I mean, the speed he has in the car, I don't think surprised anybody, but this kind of maturity in a race is just, this is probably his 40 or 45th circuit race ever, and here he is mixing it with the best in the world. You're on board with Coulthard going into left field. He takes a slightly tighter line through there, gets on the power nicely. Not too much oversteer on the way out as the car accelerates over the start line. That's the finish line. The start line is now, and Copse is ahead 190 miles an hour. So difficult to see where to turn in, and then hold your breath on the exit. There's a little tiny piece of curb before you're in the gravel trap. Into Beckett, see if he has to lift too much. A little bit of lift there, still got quite a lot of fuel on board. Remember, riding the curbs, and a little bit of spray. There's still some water up against those curbs. And we are going to take a break.
Lap 11 out of 60 as across the line goes leader Rubens Barrichello, but Mika Häkkinen, the 4th car, has just made the fastest lap of the race to close up a bit on his teammate David Coulthard. The McLarens are still 3rd and 4th, but Frentzen in the Mugen Honda-powered Jordan is still holding that 2nd place. And Martin, I must say I'm quite surprised at that, because the McLarens behind him have undoubtedly got much more power from their Mercedes-Benz engine, which is also a lot lighter. But Frentzen is holding the pace extremely well.
I don't think there's much between them now, Murray, at the top end, 20 horsepower at the most. It's a question of drivability, and I think the way the aerodynamics are working around this circuit rather than absolute raw power. And Barrichello's car's working well, there's no doubt about that. He's just done a new fastest lap of the race on a 1:28.8, but they're all so close. This is the amazing thing, all designed to different philosophies, same regulations, but different philosophies and all kinds of interesting differences as you look along the cars aerodynamically, weight distribution-wise and whatever, but they are so close in performance. Unfortunately, that's not generating us great overtaking opportunities.
No, but listen to this. I can now tell you something that hasn't been told before this week. I was up at the Shell place at Thornton in Cheshire with Rubens Barrichello last week, and
it's a restart here. Look at, and there'll be a circle coming up, and there is Schumacher and Häkkinen. From this distance, it does look like they touch, but another camera angle down much nearer to the racetrack seemed as if Schumacher was able to keep just moving out of the way whilst not going too hard onto the grass.
Right, well, let's come back to this thing I was telling you about the fuel, because Ferrari may have a bit of a secret weapon. They're using a different kind of fuel composition here, which may give them an economy advantage, which could help them stay out a bit longer. And that could be absolutely crucial to this race and strategy. Meantime, David Coulthard is pushing again. He's still in 3rd position. You still see Barrichello, Frentzen, Coulthard, Häkkinen, and there's only 2.5 seconds covering the top 4.
Yes, new fastest lap for Coulthard on a 1:28.4. They're just edging that away now as the fuel load goes down. Remember, 10 kilos of fuel around here, let's say 4 laps worth of fuel is 0.4 of a second in cost per lap, carrying that weight around the circuit. Michael Schumacher is now 16.5 seconds behind the leader, almost as if he's lost a bit of interest back there. He's not really putting any kind of pressure on Villeneuve. We're not seeing one of his storming drives through the field. You're on board with Coulthard, of course, the camera above his head, that all the cars have to carry, and once again they're playing with the throttle in Luffield, trying to get some grip and head down that pit straight. If there's a westerly wind here, at the end of this straight is often the fastest part of the racetrack at 195 miles an hour.
Well, you don't need to be a brain surgeon to work out that with the race as close as this, because you're looking at Ralf Schumacher now, who's in 6th position, just 4 seconds behind the leader. 4 seconds covers the first 6. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to work out that a great deal is going to depend on strategy and when they come in, how long they take and where they rejoin the track in relation to their competitors. As down the straight into Stowe goes Häkkinen, Coulthard coming towards us now, De La Rosa, Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar. They are 17th and 18th. And coming through now, there is Herbert. Behind Herbert is Deniz, then Heidfeld, Genet and Mazzacane. That's down to the 22nd. We still have no retirements. We're on lap 14.
Michael Schumacher then, that's the distance he is behind fellow world champion Jacques Villeneuve. And I think that's about as close as you're going to get. The turbulent air, you damage your front tyres a little bit on turning, the car slides. You have to wait. The guy in front of you is always going to be on the throttle, at least a car length ahead of you, of course, and you just end up taking his momentum somehow. You've got to arrive and nail the guy in front if you can, otherwise you end up falling into some kind of... You just get mesmerised, really, and that seems to be where Michael Schumacher's at right now at this stage of the afternoon.
As he follows Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR Honda, the world champion of 1997. You remember that Michael Schumacher and Villeneuve had that contentious coming together at Jerez in 97, which decided the world championship. Well, they're at it again now. Not colliding, I mean, but racing each other very hard indeed. As you can see, Barrichello on the right, Frentzen on the left are doing, and you can see that with all this sunshine that we've had, not only is the track completely dry, but it's getting warmer, of course, and that can make somewhat of a difference. As into the pits comes Alexander Wurz in the Benetton from 21st position. Well down.
Yes, that must be an unscheduled stop. I would have thought so early in the race. Can't imagine they're dreaming of free stopping, although nothing much changed on the car other than a standard looking, put some gas and some new boots on it. So Wurz now over the speed line. He can accelerate. Quite a tricky little corner at the end of the pit lane here, but you're moving nicely by the time you rejoin the racetrack.
And we certainly haven't had a race as close as this year. Just over 4.1 seconds now separates Ralf Schumacher, who is 6th, and Rubens Barrichello on the left, who is leading the race as they turn the right-hander and up into Woodcote to complete their 15th lap. Now we're getting towards the time when the first of the stops for a two-stop strategy could happen, round about 5 laps time, if I am right. But the Ferrari mechanics seem quite relaxed there, as Barrichello leading Frentzen by half a second. Frentzen is half a second ahead of Coulthard. Coulthard is 0.8 of a second ahead of Mika Häkkinen. So Häkkinen can't do anything about the 3 in front of him, any more than Michael Schumacher, who is 8th, can do anything about Villeneuve before he gets into the points. If he does, 6th position, which is occupied by his brother, Ralph, and Jenson Button is still in 5th position.
Well, we're focused on people driving the cars, but the men who are going to win this race this afternoon are in the pits, currently studying the back of their eyelids, relaxing, resting, preparing themselves, because it's going to be all about getting their man back out on the track in the fastest possible speed.
Mika Salo out from 18th position in the Sauber. His teammate Pedro Diniz is 17th ahead of him, or was. So Mika Salo rejoins, and the leaders are still that close as they turn out of the left-hander at Brooklands into the double right-hander at Luffield. We're with David Coulthard now, with the 3-pointed star of Mercedes-Benz on his steering wheel, crossing the line to complete the 16th lap.
It surprised me just how long it took Coulthard to be able to get on the power there. I think the rear tyres, when the track is green, you get more wheel spin. As soon as you get more wheel spin, you get more temperature, higher wear rate, and I think all of them, and maybe it's why their pace is so similar, they're just struggling to get on the throttle in those slower corners. At high speed, you've got more than the weight of the car in downforce, helps you get that traction. It's the low-speed corners where, listening to their throttle actions, they're struggling to find some grip.
I'm waiting to hear what Michael Schumacher says at the end of this race. There he is in the Ferrari in 8th position. And news from James Allen.
Yeah, a little bit of concern up on the McLaren pit wall. We've had some discussions going on between Steve Hallam and Mark Slade on the Hakkinen engineering team. I know that Hakkinen had a problem this morning with the pneumatic valve sensor. It was a similar problem to the one he had in Australia, if you remember, the air system relating to the engine. And they were concerned, of course, with that very short amount of time between the warm-up and the race. They didn't have time to change the engine. Hakkinen could have started the race in the spare car, but I'm told he started in his race car. And there have been quite a few discussions going on up there in the last few minutes, so we'll keep an eye on that. But at the moment, Hakkinen's not showing any signs of being slowed by any kind of problem. But they're certainly watching it. Meanwhile, guys, I'm becoming convinced now that people are actually going to stop just once in this race. The lap times we're seeing are very consistent with quite a heavy fuel load, so we need to keep our eyes on this. It's an extraordinary atmosphere down here. I can't remember a more tense atmosphere between the teams. It's real cat and mouse. The first person to move, make a mistake, the others will pounce.
Yeah, you could well be right, James, because the two-stop strategy is going to bring them down into the traffic. Now, who's doing well and who isn't doing so well? Well, obviously, the first 5 are doing well, but particularly Jenson Button, to have improved his position on the grid by a place and to stay with the competition that he's chasing, because he's only 2.6 seconds on lap 18 behind race leader Rubens Barrichello, and he is right up with Mika Hakkinen, who is in 4th position, as you watch Jacques Villeneuve going extremely well in the BAR Honda. Last year that car did not go well. You're looking at Barrichello now, and look at Heinz-Harald Frentzen crowding right up behind the Ferrari. Now, Michael Schumacher is the first man who is doing badly in comparison with what we would have expected down in 8th position. Jos Verstappen is driving a great race for Arrows in 9th position, but now they are right up with each other. Frentzen is with Barrichello, Coulthard is with Frentzen, Hakkinen is with Coulthard, Jenson Button is not so very far behind Mika Hakkinen. So it is Ferrari leading, Jordan 2nd, McLaren's 3rd and 4th, Williams 5th and 6th, with Button and Schumacher both in the points on lap 18 out of lap 60. Now watch Heinz-Harald Frentzen, watch his fingers. He changes gears by just squeezing paddles underneath the left and right side of the steering wheel, which you don't need me to tell you is not a normal one. It's not round, it's got buttons all over it, because a lot of the control functions these days operated by the driver are done through the steering wheel, and the steering wheel itself can cost a minimum of £20,000 with all the electronic stuff that is on it. So down the hangar straight into Stowe Corner, and he's doing about 190 miles an hour. Barrichello, Frentzen, Coulthard, Hakkinen, Button and Ralf Schumacher in 6th position. Now we're going to be taking a break, but rejoin us in a couple of minutes. Lap 20 out of 60, 1/3 distance. The leaders are the same. There is Barrichello. But Jos Verstappen, who was in a fine 9th place, has hit some sort of a problem with the arrows. He's slowed down, he's been caught and passed, and I suspect he is out of the race. Fisichella has come in the Benetton for a pit stop. There is Verstappen touring in. Fisichella clearly having just hit something with the front of the Benetton, because the nose was slightly deranged, and it's a very bad race for the Benetton team, because Fisichella and Wurz are now right at the back. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen speeds up again with his fastest lap of the afternoon. But it's very static at the front, although it's very close, with only 3.2 seconds covering the first 5. Look at them. There is Frentzen, Coulthard, Hakkinen, and Jenson Button in 5th. I keep on marvelling about Jenson Button, but he's driving a great race.
It's absolutely amazing how he can just stay up there with this pace with so little experience. James, what can you tell us?
Here's one for you, Martin. There's a board going out just in a moment for Mika Hakkinen the next time he comes through, and it says Mixture 3. P4, laps 21, Mixture 3. I wonder whether they're trying to plot something here. Getting him to run the thing a little bit lean, perhaps save a little fuel. Are they some sort of cunning fuel strategy, do you think?
I don't think it's particularly cunning fuel strategy. They obviously want to stretch out. Maybe he's got enough fuel on board that'll do a two-stopper just about sensibly, or with a little bit of effort, stretch to make a sensible one. And I think the team started the race with that kind of idea. Mika Häkkinen slipping back slightly from Coulthard now, and it's not a great deal, but we're watching a game of chess here. We saw a bit of tag wrestling off the start line when Michael Schumacher got double shuffled out of the way, but right now we're simply watching some chess. It's going to shake out when they come in for their pit stops, and obviously the teams are just fine-tuning what they've got to do to try to maximise, because there's nothing between the drivers or the cars, and Villeneuve getting a bit out of shape there, some kind of smoke coming out of the back of the car. Whether it was the car bottoming out, I don't know. We'll have a look in a minute, but Villeneuve having a good scrap with Michael Schumacher. They're now 22 seconds off the pace.
And that is Jos Verstappen. We saw him slow down. He's now in the pits. It's a long stop. He's got his visor up, and you can tell from the way the mechanics are standing around the car that he probably won't be going any further. Gaston Mazzacane in the Minardi in the pits and now out of it. So we're getting we've had quite a few pit stops, but they are all tail enders. Mazzacane, Fisichella, Salo, Wurz and Verstappen have all been in. Nobody who is higher than 17th has yet been in. And we're now on lap 22, on lap 23 now, because Barrichello goes through, as you see, 0.6 of a second ahead of Frentzen, so he's eking out his lead, and Mika Häkkinen has just made the fastest lap of the race, faster than his own fastest lap last year, as Verstappen retires, and that is the first retirement on lap 23.
Well, fuel 3, maybe he was running fuel 2 before or something, James, because he's now gone something like 0.7 of a second faster with, I can't believe it's the fuel mixture. For sure it'd be Mika getting his head down, I would have thought, probably on the lap before. You always lose a little bit of time while you're listening to a message, understanding a message, making the adjustment in the cockpit. You can't help it. You lose a little bit of momentum, and now all of a sudden Mika Häkkinen appears to be very much on the attack.
Well, as you watch Häkkinen, I just wanted to say something else about Jenson Button. I said yesterday during qualifying that Sir Frank Williams, who of course is the boss of the Williams team, is getting near decision time about the year 2001 and who's going to be his second driver to Ralf Schumacher, because Juan Pablo Montoya, the Colombian who is in American kart racing as champion this year, is on the Williams books and was expected to join them next year. But Jenson Button has been going so well that there's now got to be some doubt about it. If he keeps going on the way he's going now, because he's holding that 5th position superbly, Frank Williams' decision is going to be even harder to make. I wouldn't like to have to make it.
Well, Frank Williams made an incredibly brave decision to put Jenson Button in the car because of his lack of track experience. I think it would be an even braver decision to turf him out now after certainly what we've seen in the first few races. But I reiterate, there's a lot of hurdles for Jenson to clear yet this season. The wet races, the street circuits or whatever. But so far, it's just been astonishing.
You saw Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher there. Michael Schumacher is now 23 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, with no chance of winning this race unless something dramatic happens to no less than 7 people ahead of him. There's Johnny Herbert, 12th. Pedro Diniz, 13th, behind Pedro Diniz, Heidfeld. Into the pits comes Jean Alesi from 15th position. De La Rosa is in the pits. Marc Genet is in the pits. There's De La Rosa coming in, and the rest through.
Presumably it's vitamin C they put in that orange arrows, is it?
Yeah. Lap 24. Lap 24, Rubens Barrichello leads by 0.6 of a second from Heinz-Harald Frentzen as the Minardi of Marc Genet burns rubber out of the pit lane. He can really hit it there because there's no way he's going to get to 70 miles an hour plus before that white line. And he's coming out. Now, this is going to be pretty significant as Heinz-Harald Frentzen in second position. Now, well down because Coulthard's gone through, Häkkinen's gone through. Now, what is Frentzen's time going to be? This is going to be a crucial thing, and this is on lap 25.
Williams in the pits too. Ralf Schumacher is in the pits. This is looking strong for McLaren. Ralf Schumacher having to pit too, and a problem with the right rear for Ralf Schumacher's pit stop. And he's away now, but that cost an awful lot of time. Fortunately for him, the players behind him, which was Jacques Villeneuve, was some 13 seconds adrift. So I don't think it'll cost Ralf a position, but it sure hasn't helped.
Now, can David Coulthard, now that he's got rid of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, albeit temporarily, put on a real spurt and close the gap between himself and Rubens Barrichello. There is the race leader on lap 25 out of 60. Coulthard second, Hakkinen third, up into fourth place comes Jenson Button, and Jenson Button has just done the fastest first sector of the race. This lap is broken up for timing purposes, like all of them, into 3 individual sectors. And not only has Button gone quicker than anybody in the first sector, he's gone quicker than he has been before in the second sector. There he is, you see. There's Jenson Button, the 4th car there, and look at the gap between him and
I think he's pitting, Murray. The information is Button is pitting this time. There's the white speed limit line on the pit lane, but Jenson must be careful not to overspeed. I can see him coming past the commentary box now. Yes.
The fuel flap open. I don't know if James is down there. If you are, interrupt me, James. No, he's not. So, Jenson Button in now. Frenson's time took 7.2 seconds. And remember, every second gives you 4 laps of fuel. Jenson sitting quite calmly there. Now he's taken on a lot of fuel there. Does that mean to say that, well, he may be doing a very strange strategy?
He was a little bit slow away after the refueler came out, but I think with Ralf Schumacher's apparent hit, did Ralf pass him there or not? I saw a white car go past. Was it Ralf? So hopefully Jenson hasn't lost position there. We'll have to wait until we catch them going down Hanger Straight or something. But this is the battle for the lead now. Coulthard having Frentzen gone in the pits. Coulthard got some clear air and look, immediately just zapped straight up to the back of Barrichello. And if you ever need proof that the aerodynamics of these cars are affecting their overtaking performance, I think there it is. It's clear to see.
Well, this is Rubens Barrichello's 115th Grand Prix.
Ralph's in front. Sorry to interrupt, Murray, but Ralf did get through. So whatever that problem is on the right rear wheel cost him nothing. Jenson a little bit slow away, I think, after they lifted the lollipop. That gave him that 10.3 second stop, and it slotted him in behind his teammate. That's a pity.
Well, it's all experience for Jenson Button, and he is still very much in the points in 5th position. As over the line into lap 27 now. Barrichello, as I was saying, this is his 116th Grand Prix. He's led before. He led for Stewart at Brazil last year. He had a wonderful 2nd place at Monaco. He's never won a race, but he's also led for Jordan, his previous team, not for very long, admittedly, in the Belgian Grand Prix after he took pole position. But Rubens Barrichello has had pole position for all the 3 teams he has driven for. He's led for all the 3 teams he has driven for. He hasn't won for any of them. Is this going to be the day? He's leading now by half a second from Coulthard as into the pits comes Eddie Irvine from 11th position and is passed by his teammate, Jaguar Johnny Herbert, who goes up into 11th place.
Yes, a sad weekend again, really, for the performance of the Jaguar team, really. Quite a long way, about a second a lap off the pace. So they're going to go away from here very disappointed, even if there's an alarming fallout of cars ahead of them and they scratch a point. Their performance will be bothering them, and a lot.
Now, let's recap. You're looking at the first 3. Obviously, none of them have stopped yet. Barrichello, Coulthard and Hakkinen, Ferrari, McLaren. There were 6 together. Of those 6, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan, who was 2nd, has stopped. Jenson Button, who was 5th, has stopped. Ralf Schumacher, who was 6th, has stopped. So we're going to see shortly whether the different strategies that these 2 lots of 3 drivers are running is going to make a difference. And look at the speed there. Michael Schumacher is now up into 5th position as a result of those stops, but he has yet to come in. Jacques Villeneuve is in 4th place, but he has yet to come in. Of the ones who have stopped, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is still in the points. He's 6th position, ahead of Ralf Schumacher, 7th, who's passed Jenson Button after their pit stops. Button is in 8th position. Jarno Trulli is 9th. Ricardo Zonta has just made the fastest lap of the race, the Brazilian in the BAR. He's in 10th position.
Yes, can't explain the Zonta lap. Johnny Herbert makes his first stop. It's really either they're going to stretch a very long second stint here, or he's on a 2-stopper. Either which way, it seems to be somewhere about in the middle. But you saw a quick shot back there of Michael Schumacher with his head down, but he's still he can't get any closer than half a second to Jacques Villeneuve. They're currently running 4th and 5th because of the pit stops.
Still only one retirement, and we're on lap 28, almost at half distance, as James Allen gives us more news.
Here's a scenario for you guys. Michael Schumacher's 22 seconds behind the two McLarens. If they pit and rejoin, they will rejoin behind him on the track, which of course will allow Rubens the breathing space to put a few quick laps in, make his stop, and win this race quite comfortably. Now, I just wonder whether that's what we're heading for here. I know McLaren are getting ready to make a pit stop. I think Ferrari aren't a million miles away either. But Häkkinen's been eking out this fuel. That's why he's got the hammer down. He's trying to get the gap between himself and Schumacher as wide open as possible.
Yes, thanks, James. We've seen De La Rosa stopped, I believe, in the pit lane. In fact, he's gone off into the old pit entrance, thank goodness, because a car stuck in the pit lane itself can sometimes mean the safety car, but that is the old pit lane entrance, thank goodness. He had the sense to turn down there, so that will not interrupt the race. Zonta, having set the fastest lap of the race, has now pitted as well, but that's both arrows out of the race, the only two to retire so far. Shame for them because of their performance so far through the weekend, but you're looking at the top three.
Yeah, and it looks to me as though they're both on they're all on a one-stop strategy. We're on lap 29 now out of 60, and you can see how close it is. The mechanics of Ferrari and McLaren in the end analysis are going to decide the winner of the British Grand Prix if things go on the way they are now. Zonta, the fastest man on the track so far, accelerates out of the pits as Johnny Herbert, 17th, followed by Marc Genet, Nick Heidfeld go through.
Well, what's critical here, we've seen already that Frentzen and Ralf Schumacher, Jenson Button have pitted earlier than the others. If they manage to stretch it out so they all stop once this afternoon, the laps that are going on now are absolutely critical. They're not running together. They're some 25 seconds apart because some have stopped and some have not. But how will it shake out once they've made their pit stops? And I noticed that the leaders are in the 27.9, so is Jenson Button. So if they can stretch, they're not gaining, and these three at the front have not gained as much as you'd normally expect by having these few laps on the lighter fuel load. So it's going to, when it all shakes out, they're going to come back out pretty much together.
And we are on the half distance, lap 30 out of 60 now, with nothing in it between the leading Ferrari and the two McLarens. We're with the second McLaren now, second place McLaren of David Coulthard, last year's winner, of course, and David Coulthard driving his best, his brilliant best, his 7th equal in the World Championship at the present moment. Just a point, 2 points behind his teammate Mika Häkkinen. And Mika Häkkinen, of course, is 24 points behind Michael Schumacher, who is in the points now. He's in 5th position ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But, as I always say, it's a bit of a false dawn because Michael Schumacher has not stopped. Frentzen has, Ralf Schumacher has, Jenson Button has, and as Martin has explained, the pit stops that are coming up are going to be absolutely crucial. It's going to be very, very close indeed.
Yes, all three of them did a 1 minute 28.1. We'll wait a few seconds. Villeneuve and Schumacher still a little bit slower than that, although they're currently running 4th and 5th. Then I'm really keen to see Frentzen, Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button's lap times as they come over the line. They're not together, I'll remind you, but they are still very much racing. This is the game of chess I was telling you about. 28.1 for Michael this time around, Frentzen 28.3.
And that's within a 10th, the same as
yes, 28.1, 28.3. So they're all lapping at the same.
Yeah, they're lapping.
Look, Coulthard has passed the Ferrari. Yeah. Coulthard has passed Barrichello. He takes the lead of this race. Haven't seen it on the TV, but maybe Barrichello made a mistake somewhere. We're going to have a replay shortly. Stay tuned. We're going to see that very, very shortly. But David Coulthard, for the 2nd consecutive year, leads the British Grand Prix.
Now, does that mean that Barrichello's got a problem? Because Coulthard, as he did before, is streaking away. Here is the replay now. Let's look what happens. Barrichello leading.
It's into Stowe. Look, Coulthard's going to go down the outside. Coulthard takes a brave run right down the outside. Barrichello defends his line, then has to reduce his speed some, and Coulthard just saying, I'm coming through. Now's the moment.
And as a result of that, Barrichello loses momentum and Mika Häkkinen closes up on him. That's a replay. And so now David Coulthard again, he's made the fastest lap of the race. He's broken clear of Barrichello, who seems to have been holding him up, therefore. And into the pits comes Mika Häkkinen from 3rd position. This This is going to give David Coulthard the chance to extend his lead, because he will be making a terrific charge on this lap. Now, 11.3 seconds for Mika Häkkinen. Now, that's a second longer than Jenson Button took. James Allen.
Completely consistent with the one-stopper. This is absolutely fascinating, and it was a critical move by Coulthard. If he hadn't got past Barrichello, he might have had the danger.
James, the Williams BMWs have gone through, and it looks to me as though Mika Häkkinen's lost track position.
And look at this, Coulthard's got a back marker on this lap. He does not need this. He must clear this Minardi at the earliest opportunity. Go for it, David, just nail him. You've got to get through. This lap is crucial, because you're going to end up, like your teammate, behind those two Williams if you're not careful. You need 2 or 3 more laps if you've got the fuel to pull out 3-4 seconds. Otherwise, the Williams are going to be leading this race.
Yeah, that was incredible. The 2 Williams of Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button have gone ahead of Mika Häkkinen as a result of their different pit stop strategies. Now, as Marty says, there is Ralf Schumacher, there is Jenson Button, there is Mika Häkkinen, and the McLaren has lost 2 places on the track. Lap 33, 60-lap race.
Well, fortunately for Coulthard, he was still the fastest man on the track, despite having to go offline to pass the Minardi there. So didn't cost Coulthard too much time. He still needs another couple of laps of low 1:27s, and he may just come out in front. It's going to be touch and go.
But significantly, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is still there, and he's ahead of Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button. So Frentzen is in 4th position now. Michael Schumacher moves up into 4th place behind Jacques Villeneuve, who is 3rd. David Coulthard leads the race. Rubens Barrichello is in 2nd place. We're at an absolutely magical time of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And this is the man who's got to increase the gap between himself and Rubens Barrichello, and his pit mechanics are ready to bring him in. Up to Bridge, the right-hander, 150 miles an hour. David will, of course, know he's coming in on this lap. Rubens Barrichello will retake the lead, or will he?
No, he won't. He will not. I think Coulthard is tussling. In my view, Coulthard is tussling with these 2 guys here in the Williams. And that's what he's up against. Got to be some kind of stunning stop, but he needs enough fuel to do the
Just a minute, drama. There, in comes David Coulthard, the leader, James.
This is going to have to be very, very good by McLaren, because he's got 25 seconds over Michael Schumacher. In other words, if he doesn't get back out on the track in front of Schumacher, he could have blown the race relative to Rubens Barrichello. It's going to be very, very tight, within a second or 2 possibly. Nice job by the McLaren boys.
10.2 seconds, exactly the same, within a 10th as Jenson Button. He accelerates out, and there goes Schumacher. Look, he's going to get ahead.
It's Frentzen is the key one, though. Frentzen's the key one.
And he's done it. Frentzen's done it as well. There comes David Coulthard, and Frentzen chops across the pit exit. And so David Coulthard, like Mika Häkkinen, has lost track position on his pit stop.
No, not quite, Murray. I don't see it that way. It's Frentzen who will, of course. Is that Barrichello? No, Barrichello's gone through in front of Frentzen. Sorry, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. So I thought that was Schumacher coming down the pit straight. It was Barrichello. So now Coulthard really has rejoined back in 3rd place.
Yep, lap 34. Rubens Barrichello back in the lead as Jacques Villeneuve, who comes in from 5th position, sweeps into the pit lane and stops at his garage. But the Ferrari is back in the lead, and there is Heinz-Harald Frentzen behind, and David Coulthard. So you're looking at a restatement of the positions at the beginning of the race. Rubens Barrichello is leading, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is in 2nd position, and David Coulthard is 3rd.
Right, it's clear to me now, having seen that. That is Michael Schumacher. Of course, he hasn't yet stopped. He was, as James pointed out, just about a pit stop behind the race leaders. And we haven't seen Barrichello yet. Barrichello's down the road doing 1:27.4s. It is Frentzen we can see behind. Michael Schumacher is in 2nd place, but he has yet to stop.
So, and this is lap 35. fuel strategies very different indeed. Button, there is Button ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who is 7th and out of the points, but of course he has stopped, and Michael Schumacher, who is ahead of him and in the points, has not. So Häkkinen is 7th, Button is in the points after his stop. Ahead of him is Ralf Schumacher, 5th after his stop. David Coulthard 4th after his stop. Frentzen the same, 3rd after his stop. So Michael Schumacher will be coming in, and then we will have Barrichello, Frentzen, Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, Button, Häkkinen, and Jenson Button ahead of the double world champion, and his teammate Ralf Schumacher ahead of him.
What Michael's doing now is some pretty impressive lap times. He's got to clear, he's got to leapfrog Jacques Villeneuve, the guy who's been holding him up all through the race. So now, and that's Barrichello spun. And Frentzen goes through. The lead is spun. Frentzen takes the lead, and surely Coulthard and Häkkinen, Coulthard and the two Williams have got a chance to come through there too. Where is the McLaren?
And he's on wet tyres, and he comes into the pit lane straight away. Rubens Barrichello comes in for his 2nd stop. The Ferrari mechanics are taken by surprise. Rubens Barrichello spun. Now, does he think he's damaged the bottom of the car, James?
I can't see any damage. They certainly weren't expecting him. This was unscheduled. The mechanics have just scrambled. And just to put this into context for you folks, what was happening here was Ferrari's entire strategy was based around Rubens Barrichello winning this race. He's not stalled it, the engine's still running. Now he's got a problem with the gear selection, and they're trying to just reach into the cockpit. He's blown it, guys. He had the race in his lap. Ross Brawn was at his disposal. Michael Schumacher was at his disposal to win this race for Ferrari, and he has blown it.
Well, let's wait and see. He may have had a technical problem that sent him off the racetrack, because it's unusual to recover from a spin and then drive straight into the pit lane with apparently a healthy car. So he may well have had some kind of gear selection problem that pitched him off the road. So now Michael Schumacher is going to lead the race because he has not yet stopped. But the real leader is still Frentzen, followed by Coulthard, and the net gainers in all of this pit stop stuff was Ralf Schumacher, leapfrog Jenson Button, and Mika Häkkinen fell behind the Pirelli. Here we go.
Here's a replay. Now he loses the back of it there. I think there's a mechanical problem, because I noticed that when Barrichello came in and he was talking to the mechanics, he was obviously very agitated, unlike him normally, as he goes through the very wet, soggy grass, and he seemed to be saying, "It wasn't my fault, fellas, something happened at the back." Now he very clearly spun off, rejoins the track. Frentzen goes through and takes the lead, and that is the position at the present moment with Frentzen effectively takes the lead. Michael Schumacher is leading the race.
That's a very, very strange spin there for Rubens Barrichello. Look, got the throttle absolutely buried immediately. I think that was actually a Minardi going through the picture, but splashes across the grass and immediately takes to the pit lane as if he had some kind of throttle or gear shift situation. Michael, a new fastest lap of the race, he certainly will now be leapfrogging Villeneuve. James, what can you tell us?
Well, I owe a hearty apology to Rubens Barrichello. Sorry, Rubens, you didn't blow it. It was a hydraulic pressure dropping on the car throughout that last lap before he spun. That's why he spun. He dived into the pit lane. There's nothing that can be done. He's parked the car. A great tragedy, because what was happening here was the whole thing was for Rubens' benefit today. Even Michael Schumacher was playing for him.
Yeah, you couldn't see him, James, the way we could on our monitors, and he was obviously very concerned indeed. We're watching now Johnny Herbert chasing Pedro Diniz. Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar chasing Pedro Diniz in the Sauber, and he is in 13th position, and so Johnny Herbert is 14th. But just to go back to the front of the race, Michael Schumacher, that's the fluid from the bottom of Barrichello's Ferrari. Michael Schumacher is leading the race by 4 seconds from Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but Schumacher, as we have repeatedly pointed out, has yet to stop, and Frentzen is effectively leading the race from David Coulthard, and Ralf Schumacher 3rd, Jenson Button in 4th position, Mika Häkkinen in 5th place, Jarno Trulli in 6th position, as Ricardo Zonta spins out of the race. He was in 11th place, and his BAR Honda race is finished.
Well, he's in a tricky position there, but I don't see any need. They should be able to tow him out under double waved yellows there, and that's truly in for a stop from 7th place, his first stop of the afternoon. Now, I'm absolutely sure of one thing: Michael Schumacher has not got a big enough fuel tank to drive this entire Grand Prix distance. What he is doing is lapping about a second a lap faster than the rest of the field. Remember, he was about 23 seconds behind the leading pack, and there's about 23 laps to go, so this kind of pace might just bring Michael into contention towards the end of the race, remembering of course now he's getting on quite low fuel, and that explains why in the early part of the race he looked lackluster and unable to get anywhere near the back of Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, an incredibly late first stop, because he's on lap 38 at the present moment. So he must have had his tank absolutely brim full, which explains why he's going now. And he comes into the pit lane, Michael Schumacher, and I'm watching for Heinz-Harald Frentzen. I can see Frentzen, he's coming through. James.
Thank you, Murray. He's going to come and pit stop. He's going to rejoin in around about 6th or possibly 7th place. He won't get in front of Häkkinen. He'll be in front of True in 7th place. A bad day for Michael Schumacher at the office, really. Maybe he'll get a point, who knows. But I think, guys, you want to keep an eye on Frentzen and the two Williamses, because I'm pretty sure they're going to have to stop again. I'm not sure they really are the factor here. I think this is McLaren's day.
I think Schumacher's still in the points, actually, because Jarno Trulli has not gone through yet, and I still don't see him, and I reckon that Michael Schumacher, yes, there's Trulli, so Michael Schumacher rejoins the race in the points. Now, he's on one World Championship point at the present moment, and his chief rival in the championship, Mika Häkkinen, we expect, is only in 5th position at the present moment, so there's only 1 point difference to Häkkinen's advantage if they stay where they are now. We're on lap 39. These are the positions. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is leading this race from David Coulthard by about 1.5 seconds. Then Ralf Schumacher is 3rd, Jenson Button is 4th, Mika Häkkinen is 5th, Michael Schumacher is 6th. We're leaving Silverstone for a couple of minutes, but don't go away. Lap 41, 19 to go at Silverstone. The weather is still perfect, and as a result of Rubens Barrichello's retirement, you're looking now at the first two. Heinz-Harald Frentzen leading a Grand Prix again. There's his boss, Eddie Jordan. Frentzen's already won 3 races. This could be his 4th and his 3rd for Jordan. He's 1.7 seconds ahead of David Coulthard and lapping faster than the McLaren. Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button in the Williams BMWs are 3rd and 4th ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who is not making any impression on them. And importantly for him, Michael Schumacher is in the points, 6th position.
But the story is, will Heinz-Harald Frentzen have to, as Genet is at the moment in the Minardi, will Frentzen have to stop again? We don't know. We know the McLarens can go to the end. We're sure of that. We're sure the two Williams can go to the end that are currently running 3rd and 4th. Häkkinen we know can. Michael Schumacher absolutely for certain. He was the last man to stop. So we're going to play in Zonta spin any moment now. But this is the question. Does Frentzen have to stop again? And this is Zonta losing his car in the complex, buries the throttle but can't stop it from going into the gravel trap, and they had to bring JCB out to drag that stricken BAR out of the way.
And I have to say, sadly, Martin, that Ricardo Zonta has not lived up to my expectations since he became a Grand Prix driver as the European Formula 3000 champion. Admittedly, he had that crash in Brazil last year, but he just has never really looked like being on it.
No, he's certainly not shone in the way that you would have expected, but Frentzen's certainly put a spurt on, down in the low 27s now, 0.8 of a second faster than Coulthard on that run. Now the leading group are getting amongst the back markers. That's Jenson Button coming up to lap the Minardi, and Häkkinen really just been struggling all afternoon, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Hanging on to the back of a pack.
There
yes.
it is, here's Frentzen's...
Truly stopped very late, so we know for sure. Surely that must be for Frentzen, and here he comes. Frentzen does have to stop again.
So David Coulthard goes through and takes the lead. And where is Ralf Schumacher? Ralf Schumacher goes through into 2nd position. Jenson Button goes through into 3rd position. Button on lap 43, having made his stop, is in a podium position for the first time as in his short Grand Prix career.
And look, Schumacher too, Michael Schumacher coming through. Frentzen is going to go from 1st to 6th.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher is really laughing as a result of the strategy that they decided to run, because he was down in 8th position for lap after lap. Now he's on 2 World Championship points with Mika Häkkinen just ahead of him in 3rd position. 4th position, I'm sorry.
There's Ralf Schumacher, currently running 2nd. And really, that strategy of Jordan's has blown it for them today. That's turned out to be completely wrong. They weren't flexible enough. They weren't able to move it to a shorter first stint of a one-stopper like some of the teams have done, or indeed even start the race fully intending to do a long first stint. And that's cost Jordan extremely dearly. Häkkinen is coming through the back markers, but still behind Jenson Button in what will shake out to be 3rd place, a podium position. Once they pass the line again and all the computers shuffle around, Jenson Button in a current podium position.
And I am wondering who it is that BMW have got working for them at Munich. This, after all, is their 1st year back in Formula One after leaving it in 1983 when Nelson Piquet was the world champion for Brabham using a BMW turbo engine. And they've started off with a clean sheet of paper. They haven't used anybody else's technology. And there were people saying that the BMW was heavy, engine was heavy and underpowered. Well, if that's a heavy, underpowered engine, I'm sure that half the pit lane would be more than happy to get their hands on it, because they are now in 2nd and 3rd places. There is Schumacher, there is Jenson Button coming through to lap the Prost ahead of him and staying ahead of world champion 2 times Mika Häkkinen.
Yes, David Coulthard's got a 7-second lead now, and coming up, they're all coming through the back marker, so I think it'll yo-yo a little bit. But Coulthard, he's often said, I love it when I'm out in front. It's where I feel my most confident, my most comfortable. But I'm sure in the back of his mind, the reliability issues he's had with the McLaren, as Jenson Button laps the Prost, Coulthard's going to be thinking, will this go to the end today when I need it most? To win the Grand Prix of Great Britain back-to-back for a British driver would be some kind of wonderful feeling.
Well, I didn't expect to see this, I'll be quite honest. 2 British drivers in the top 3 at this stage of the race. Lap 44 out of 60, and I certainly didn't expect one of them to be absolute newcomer. Jenson Button, 1st time at Silverstone in a Grand Prix. Lap 45 then, here are the gaps. David Coulthard 7 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher and lapping about the same. Jenson Button is 9 seconds behind Coulthard. Mika Häkkinen is 11 seconds behind Coulthard. Michael Schumacher is 17 seconds behind, but lapping 0.8 of a second faster than Mika Häkkinen. I wonder if Mika has some sort of a problem. He just has not shone in this race at all.
Well, I think we're finally seeing Michael Schumacher on some kind of mission. He's just 6.4 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen now, who's 1.6 behind Jenson Button. That mid-race sprint when Michael Schumacher got some clear air and started pumping in the 1:26 has certainly all of a sudden elevated him in with some chance of getting on to the leading pack. Before that happens, we're going to take a quick break. In the 1:26 has certainly all of a sudden elevated him in with some chance of getting on to the leading pack. Before that happens, we're going to take a quick break.
Lap 47, Jenson Button running 3rd, comes into the pit lane for his 2nd stop and accelerates out. Now it's conceivable that Michael Schumacher will have gone up into 4th position. He's gaining place after place. Mika Häkkinen has gone up into 3rd place. Now there is Button. Can we see Michael Schumacher on?
Well, that is a major surprise to me and a huge disappointment. I really thought it was clear to see, to read this race, that it was heading into a one-stopper to be at the sharp end when it matters. And I'm just amazed with the 13 laps to go that they brought Jenson Button in. He had to come in for another stop. What a disappointment.
Well, I begin to wonder where this will leave Ralf Schumacher, because there's 14 laps to go. And he's coming in. Ralf Schumacher's coming in. There are the Williams mechanics again. So that means that Häkkinen could well move up into 2nd position, and Michael Schumacher into 3rd place.
Irvine having stalled the engine on with a box full of neutrals, I'm not sure which. a box full of neutrals by the looks of it. So Eddie Irvine going no further. That's put Johnny. Oh, he's found one. There he goes. Will he find some more when it? But Ralph coming down the pit lane. So this is going to put the Williams way back. They obviously went for a long first stint and a very short middle stint to give themselves track position. And well, quite clearly now, it's going to compromise them badly in the run-up to the end of the race.
And is Michael Schumacher going to get through and ahead of the Williams BMW before it leaves the pit lane? Well, on the left there, you see Ralf Schumacher. Coulthard, of course, has gone through. Mika Häkkinen has gone through. There is Schumacher, and that is Jenson Button behind him. So they've both come in and rejoined the track in exactly the same positions relative to each other. We're on lap 48 now, and I'm just trying to work out in my mind where Michael Schumacher is in relation to the others in the top six. He's in it, absolutely for sure, but Gerhard Berger looking very downcast. Well, now he's smiling as he talks to Sir Frank. But there is Michael Schumacher, where you can see where he is on the track. Michael Schumacher is in third position, so what I said was going to happen has, I'm glad to say, from my point of view. So it's a McLaren leading.
At Herbert, they will be pumping up the hydraulic system. Maybe you do get a leakage on that. That's the system that closes the valves in the engine, and clearly they had some kind of leakage. They had to come in and fit. You can add that during a race. You cannot add oil and that sort of thing during a race, but you can add, I believe, compression into that system. Ralf Schumacher now out on the track on a mission, heading for a very fast lap time, but we're dying to see. I think you're right, Mario. I think it's left Michael Schumacher in third place, and of course Frentzen behind him, and now the two Williams are going to top out or round out the top six in fifth and sixth position.
Well, so there's Häkkinen. Look, there is Michael Schumacher. He is in third position as he comes up and passes Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, who moves through to let him pass. So Michael Schumacher is on 4 World Championship points in the phenomenally, so far, reliable Ferrari, having scored 10 in each of the first 3 races. It's not going to make very much difference to the gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen, because although Häkkinen is second, it means to say that he will have closed the gap to Michael Schumacher by only 2 points from 24 to 22, provided they finish in second and third places. But Ralf Schumacher is now in 5th place behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Jenson Button is still in the points. That would be the second time in his first 4 Grand Prix that he's finished in the points if he stays there. But as Martin has said, great disappointment when we both thought that he was going to be in third position on a one-stop strategy. Not so.
I'm still seriously impressed with Michael Schumacher. He had patience at the beginning of the race, fell back 23 seconds. Imagine if he'd have made that start stick and go around the outside of Häkkinen, so he was in the thick of it at the front all the way through. The amount of fuel he obviously had on board, he would have been in superb shape. But as James pointed out earlier in the race, it's McLaren that have really called the strategy right today, and it's working beautifully. Coulthard and Häkkinen up front. Coulthard's got a 10.9 second lead. Michael Schumacher's got a few back markers and 8.8 seconds before he can get a look at the back of Mika Häkkinen,
who has never won a British Grand Prix. He was second in 98, he's led but gone off. Last year, of course, he lost a rear wheel. He went off the year before when the race was very wet indeed. Michael Schumacher, of course, has won. He won in those contentious circumstances in 1998 when he won the race in the pit lane, stationary, as a result of having to take a penalty. But Ferrari made it work. Michael won the race. Mika Häkkinen has not won a British Grand Prix. David Coulthard has, of course. If he wins this race, it will be for the second year in succession, and it's something that David really needs to beat his teammate Mika Häkkinen fair and square, because he was getting the reputation of being number 2 in the McLaren team in a situation where there's only a cigarette paper in terms of ability between him and his teammate Mika Häkkinen. Frentzen, we're now riding with 4th place.
Yes, coming into left field. Coulthard can't quite find that 10th or 2/10 to match Häkkinen on the ultimate lap, but he's always been as good, if not having an edge at some tracks in race conditions, and he certainly had an excellent afternoon as David Coulthard biding his time, making use of his strategy, and there he is way out front at the moment. He's got a nice comfort zone. He can play his lap times to Häkkinen. He needs to keep an eye on it, because Häkkinen will come under pressure from Michael Schumacher, although actually Häkkinen is managing to maintain that 9.3 second advantage too. So Coulthard and Häkkinen looking very strong. How strong is the McLaren? It certainly showed good reliability in Imola. Mika Häkkinen had a problem this morning in the warm-up, but that seems to be the first signs that of any reliability issues. I think they may have nailed it.
Well, the race that we need to look at now is Frentzen against Ralf Schumacher, because Ralf in the Williams BMW is catching the Jordan. He was only 1.5 seconds behind him on the previous lap after his pit stop. Now we're with Frentzen again in second position, and I remind you of the places. David Coulthard, we're with Frentzen in fourth position, Häkkinen is second, Michael Schumacher is third. Ralf Schumacher is just 1.5 seconds behind the man we are riding with as he turns into bridge.
I think Frentzen's got a problem. Frentzen came out of Abbey Chicane with a misfire. He's got some... That is Frentzen, isn't it?
Yes,
He's got
yes.
a drama. Frentzen is going slowly.
You're right. Now let's look for Ralf Schumacher, because you're absolutely right, Martin. You can see from the positioning of the car and its speed on the track that he is much slower than he has been in the past. We'll see the two of them go across the line, I have no doubt. So he sounds all right as he accelerates away up the straight. Maybe he's missing a gear.
He's not changing gear at all. So he's just staying in the same gear, look, and he didn't change gear up the pit straight at all. Maybe he's lost hydraulic pressure too, and that also affects his throttle, which could explain why he slowed down so much.
And Martin, we've missed it, I'm afraid. Ralf Schumacher is ahead of him, and Jenson Button is catching him. There is Ralf Schumacher ahead of Frentzen. There is Frentzen in the background, and there is Jenson Button. Now Jenson Button is going to take fifth position from Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Of that, I have not a shadow of a doubt on lap 52 out of 60. What a cracking drive from Jenson. Watch him. This young man is so incredibly mature. I thought it when he's talking to you on the start line, Martin, and he's driven an absolutely superb race. Starting from the third row of the grid in sixth position alongside Michael Schumacher. Here he comes, edging up on Frentzen all the time.
Yes, he'll just eat Frentzen alive in an acceleration zone somewhere. Frentzen clearly got some kind of gear shift problem, and although he's maintaining a fair lick of speed, I think if Jenson gets anywhere near him on the exit of a corner, he'll just swamp him.
And in seventh position behind Jenson Button and 12 seconds behind him, just so that you know what's happening, as you watch very shortly, the young Englishman taking fifth position away from Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who moves over and lets him through. He knows there's no point in resisting, and it's now Williams BMW in fourth and fifth place ahead of the Jordan Mugen Honda of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the only Jordan in the points, because Jarno Trulli is down in eighth position. That's boss of Williams' technical side, Patrick Head, and out goes Nick Heidfeld in the Prost from 15th position. Another miserable race for Prost, because Lacey is only 12th.
Exit of Beckett's, there'll certainly be some double yellows there. That's quite a tricky position, but again, they should be able to recover that car quickly enough. And while they're sorting themselves out, we're going to take a quick break, but then we'll be back for the whole of the rest of the British Grand Prix. Frentzen is finally dropping out of this Grand Prix. No change at the front. Coulthard, Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher, but Häkkinen taking a full 1.7 seconds out of Coulthard on the previous lap. The gap now down to 7.3. Easily enough time at that rate to catch him. I can only assume that Coulthard must have been told by the team, Mika will not attack you. There's Frentzen recovering to the pit lane. I'm sure that's going to be hydraulic pressure, but surely they won't let Häkkinen try and apply pressure to Coulthard when they've got 11 seconds advantage over Michael Schumacher in third place. Frentzen driving straight into the garage.
If they do, there will be an absolute uproar outside Formula One, because remember what happened in Australia when David Coulthard moved over the year before last and let Mika Häkkinen through at the end of the race to win it. I cannot believe that that would be allowed to happen here. Well, I can actually, but I don't want to.
No, I can't believe it would happen. I know one person who wouldn't let it happen, and I know another person who would never ask for it to happen again either. So You know, maybe they'll let them race, but I think Coulthard should have the pace to, with 4 and a bit laps remaining, to keep Häkkinen under control. But he certainly won't be happy about having that kind of pressure applied to him by his teammate when they're in a 1-2 position. I'm expecting Häkkinen to cruise up behind him and then come home in a formation finish. Louise, what can you tell us?
Well, I'll try and get it from the horse's mouth, actually, Martin. I'm standing here with Heinz-Harald. Heinz-Harald, what was your problem?
I think that's the same problem like in Imola. Stuck again in 6th gear. We had a problem with the gearbox software. Well, a mechanical piece was actually causing a problem, so that's it.
And tell us about your tactics. You decided to go for a 2-stop. Was that the right way to go?
We would have finished, probably, yes. Yeah. But it would have been difficult anyway to keep up with McLaren and the Ferraris, so we had to drive a very aggressive race. I couldn't get past Barrichello at the beginning. It is impossible here in Silverstone really to have overtaking. This is the main thing, so the race has to be made in the pits.
Thanks, Heinz-Harald.
Lap 57, and you're looking at the battle now between Jacques Villeneuve, who's 6th, and Jarno Trulli in the other Jordan. So Frenson's just retired and lost the chance of a point for himself. Jarno Trulli wants the team at least to have a point, and to do that he's got to get past Jacques Villeneuve that is leading him. And we're on lap 57.
Yes, and Villeneuve locking a front and then snaking the rear out of the Abbey chicane. Mika Häkkinen absolutely flying on 1:26.2. The gap now just... Oh, look, Trulli goes through. Trulli makes a move into Priory. Villeneuve, I think, with some kind of braking problem. We saw him struggling into the Abbey chicane before. Trulli going into that point-scoring position. But James, what can you tell us?
Well, Häkkinen's got one idea. His McLaren team have got quite another. They're just about to show him a pit board saying easy. He's going far too quickly for their liking. It would appear that Ron Dennis has it in mind for them to finish 1-2 today, with Coulthard first and Häkkinen second. But, well, we'll see what Häkkinen has in mind.
Well, the alternative scenario is that David Coulthard has a problem, and I don't believe from his lap times that he has. He's just done a lap in 1:27.3 compared with the fastest lap that we've had, 26.2, but that was a long time ago. Now we're on lap 58, only 2 to go at the end of this one, and you're looking at race leader David Coulthard, the man who won the British Grand Prix last year. He's leading Mika Häkkinen by about 3.5 seconds. He's leading Michael Schumacher, who is 3rd, by 20 seconds. Ralf Schumacher, who is 4th, by 37 seconds. Button, who is 5th, by 50 seconds. And Jarno Trulli in the Jordan is moved up to 6th position as you look at the 2 McLarens together, and Villeneuve retires, having been in the points until he did so. But Mika Häkkinen, you can visually see now, is closing right up on David Coulthard. Now we're going to see, is it going to be a formation drive for the last 2 laps of the race? Or is... I cannot believe that Mika Häkkinen is going to disobey team orders, if there are any. But it's getting mighty, mighty close now, coming to the end of lap 58 out of 60.
Well, Coulthard's got only one choice if Häkkinen tries to come alongside him, is run him off the road, hasn't he, really? I mean, easy look on Häkkinen's board. Coulthard's doing what he should be doing, and coasting, conserving the car to the end of the race. They're now 16.7 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. No need to push the cars, and no wonder they're giving Häkkinen that easy board.
Well, I have said in the past this year that McLaren lost the first 3 races rather than Ferrari winning them. McLaren undoubtedly had a quicker car. Mika Häkkinen led all the races. He was denied victory in the first 2 by mechanical problems. It's certainly proving that they've got the quicker car here in terms of race distance, because remember, Rubens Barrichello may have been ahead, but he was only just ahead. And to finish first you have to finish. He hasn't done so. We're on lap 59 now. Only 1 to go at the end of it. It is going to be a McLaren showpiece finish, but Michael Schumacher is holding the flag and waving it hard for Ferrari. 3rd position, ahead of his brother Button and Trulli.
Still 4.5 miles, though, Murray, for those 2 McLarens, and as we know, anything can happen towards the end of a Grand Prix as everything is stressed and stretched. So many parts of these cars are just thrown away. They're designed to complete a Grand Prix. They've put on fresh and new this morning, having been tested on the bench somewhere, maybe even run for a few kilometres in a car. But you know, the cars are designed to finish not much more than a Grand Prix. But now I think Häkkinen will steady his pace. I'm sure he was just trying to frighten Coulthard off the road if he had half a chance. I don't think he'll be making any kind of attack.
And Michael Schumacher is attacking. He's just gone through the first sector fastest of all. He is, after all, those 20 seconds behind Coulthard. I won't say I can't see the point of it, but he's obviously hoping for something dramatic to happen. There he is. It's a terrific lap that he's doing, but just under 2 seconds between the first two, and they are now on their 60th and last lap. A comeback by McLaren with the prospect of first place for David Coulthard for the second year in succession. A second place for Mika Häkkinen, as he had at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. They're coming up behind Giancarlo Fisichella, who is 7th.
Textbook drive here from David Coulthard, kept his nose clean in the early stages, knew he was carrying a lot of fuel, of course. The McLaren people, I think, really did get the strategy spot on. Ferrari put a good strategy into Michael Schumacher, but very, very good one from his 5th position on the grid, but he got shoveled out at the start, and it's cost him dearly. That's allowed these two McLarens really to get out front. Both Jordan and Williams looked absolutely superb, but they were deceiving us because they were running less fuel. Unlike we thought they could all get to the end of the race with the exception of Frentzen, but it turned out the Williams had to stop too. But it still leaves Jenson Button in a solid and excellent 5th position, and his teammate Ralf Schumacher now 16 seconds ahead of him. Jenson fading a little bit towards the end now, but in 4th position. Brother Michael in 3rd. Häkkinen now pegged it over the line.
Goes David Coulthard wins the British Grand Prix by just 1.4 seconds from Mika Häkkinen. A McLaren 1-2, a maximum 16 points in the Constructors' Championship, but there remains the fly in the ointment as far as McLaren is concerned, and it's a mighty big fly. Michael Schumacher, 3rd for Ferrari after a brilliant drive, starting with a very, very heavy fuel load. His brother Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW comes home in 4th position, and behind him, 16 seconds behind him, is Jenson Button, hopefully, from his point of view and Britain's point of view. So the two Schumachers are home. Is it going to be both Williams BMWs in the points yet again? Well, there is Jenson Button, and he's going to finish higher than he's finished before, and we thought a 6th place was absolutely fantastic in Brazil, but it's 5th for Jenson Button, a magnificent drive. Jarno Trulli is 20 seconds behind him. There he is in 6th position. So 2 McLarens at the front, a Ferrari, 2 Williams BMWs, 1 Jordan, and Fisichella has finished 7th because he has been lapped. Salo 8th, Wurz 9th, Jean Alesi in 10th position. 15 finishers out of the 22 that started.
Yes, and Herbert and Irvine in the Jaguars down in 12th and 13th place. Heidi, David's fiance, and well, what a great drive, and that's answered a lot of critics for Coulthard. He's taken some stick. Even after the first race they were saying Coulthard will be bundled out of the McLaren at the end of the year. Why, on what basis, I don't know, and I couldn't find anybody that did, but a lot of speculation and kept fueling the fire, and now David Coulthard has answered that superbly with a clear-cut win, dominant win, and especially over his teammate Häkkinen.
And a dominant win which moves him up into 2nd place in the World Championship. 20 points behind Michael Schumacher, but importantly from his point of view, 2 points ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who is 3rd. Ralf Schumacher 4th in the World Championship. Jarno Trulli 5th. Jenson Button is now 6th in the World Championship on 3 points. And in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari are still a country mile ahead of McLaren, 43 points to 26. Williams in 3rd position, with Jordan and Benetton tying for 4th position, ahead of BAR 6th on 6 points.
And the crowd on their feet as Coulthard comes back to the Parc Fermé. Arm aloft, he's pretty pleased with himself. He'll sleep well tonight. He's got a party going on at his motorhome later on. It's going to be wicked and wild, and he'll be in just the right mood, won't he?
Well, that's his 7th World Championship win, his second win of the British Grand Prix, and last year he said, this is the one I wanted to win above all others. And he's not a demonstrative chap, David. He's a quiet, quite shy chap in many ways, but you can see how happy he is there, and hopefully he'll give us a big smile on the podium. Into Parc Fermé, Michael Schumacher gets out of the Ferrari, arm aloft, David out of the McLaren.
Well, all that fitness training's been doing, and I mean, the guy's arms look like his legs. He's so strong and so fit, and it pays off on a tough race like this afternoon. And Coulthard will be, as you said, he's not extremely demonstrative. He won't be doing the old Michael Schumacher punching the fresh air up on the podium, but I can tell you he'll be just as happy.
That was Norbert Haug. Well, there he is, you see. Norbert congratulating fellow German Michael Schumacher. Norbert is the boss of the Mercedes-Benz competition department. Mighty relieved man. Another fellow German there, Ralf Schumacher. And that, I remind you, was McLaren and Mercedes' first win of the year. Not only a win, but a maximum first and second, 16 points. Norbert congratulates Ralf, and Ralf Schumacher can be mighty pleased. He was third in Brazil. He was fifth in, he was third in Australia, fifth in Brazil, and now he's finished in fourth position here.
There's a lovely moment earlier in the race when Ralf put a move on Michael on the first lap to take his position away. But it's a question, I think, of damage limitation today for Michael. That mid-race sprint he did. I mean, amazing for him to end up in such a solid third position there, 21 seconds ahead of his brother in the end. You can see there now, and in fact they're showing at 19.9 on there. I'm 21 behind the leader that was. So Michael Schumacher then, solid run, damage limitation keeps him in touch in terms of points, and well in front in the championship.
Well, David Coulthard would have to win 2 races with Michael Schumacher not finishing in the points in either of them to equal the German's World Championship points position, and that would be after 6 races if he won the next 2. Not a very likely scenario. Everything is possible in Formula One, but we've got the prospect of this World Championship fight between McLaren, Ferrari, Coulthard and Schumacher carrying on. David probably talking to his father, I guess.
Just what I was going to say. That's going to be his dad. He's on the phone too.
Duncan, his dad, up at Twynham in Scotland, who's done so much to help David become a racing driver and make his way through the various categories of karts and Formula Ford, Formula 3, where he was second in the championship, and won so brilliantly in many other categories and up into 3,000.
And most of those early days funded by his dad and anybody he could blag into spending some money. David used to do his homework in the motorhome as they travelled down from Scotland for a 10-lap Formula Ford thrash, and they get back at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's Heidi again, 5 o'clock in the morning, and he'd have to just have a shower and go straight off to school again. That's the kind of commitment you've got to have if you want to be standing, as David will any moment now, on the top step of the podium here at the British Grand Prix.
And what a wonderful thing it is that he's going to receive his trophy from the great Ken Tyrrell, who you can see standing on the left, the man who had the most successful private Formula One team in the history of the sport. A great, great man who is currently the president of the British Racing Drivers Club, who own and operate Silverstone, where they are obviously hoping the British Grand Prix will continue in future years. Ken Tyrrell then going to give that trophy to David Coulthard, and the Constructors' Trophy will be handed. It's going to be interesting to see who receives the Constructors' Trophy. I guess it'll be Ron Dennis. Here's David. Ken smiling in the background. Well done, David. Michael Schumacher joins him on the podium. Where is Mika Häkkinen? There he is. McLaren, Mercedes, first and second. Ferrari third. McLaren are well and truly back as the national anthem sounds for them and for David. great day for Britain. Scotland's David Coulthard wins the race. England's McLaren finish first and second. And the magnificent gold trophy which you saw Jim Rosenthal sitting alongside when this programme began is now in the hands of David Coulthard. And Norbert Haug is the man who's taken the Constructors' Trophy, because Mercedes-Benz are such an integral part of the whole McLaren operation. They powered Coulthard to victory, Häkkinen to second place. And Mika Häkkinen takes his trophy from Peter Hain, who is the Minister of State and a very keen, I can tell you, Formula One enthusiast. John Quimby, the Chief Executive of the British Motorsports Association, gives Michael Schumacher his trophy. McLaren, Ferrari. The story has not changed here at Silverstone, but the order has, as the champagne is victoriously sprayed. Well, enjoy it, David. You have deserved every drop of it. And I suppose if you're soaked in champagne, it's a lovely feeling if you're being soaked in champagne, because you've done what Mercedes-Benz, McLaren, Coulthard, Häkkinen, and of course, Michael Schumacher have done here at Silverstone. We had a pretty unpleasant run-up to today in the form of weather. Sadly, I suspect a lot of people will not have succeeded in getting in. They've missed a great race. The banked, serried ranks of spectators that you saw just there have enjoyed every second of it. Now they will be making their way home saying, Silverstone 2000, I was there.
Thanks very much indeed, Murray, and thanks to Martin Brundle as well, and David Coulthard enjoying every second up there on the podium, and absolutely right as well. A perfect Easter Sunday we have had here, and we've had a British winner, and you know the McLarens had a very long lean spell at Silverstone. They have come right back here today, and with David Coulthard's second successive Silverstone victory, Coulthard and Häkkinen a 1-2, never right off the Supermax. A British win here then, Tony, and delighted for David Coulthard. He was sitting there alongside us, wasn't he, on Good Friday? He was very reserved. I mean, he wasn't exactly overconfident about today's race, was he?
He was talking about getting closer to Mika Häkkinen. He said Mika Häkkinen is at his best. He said, I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there. I'm studying all his data. I'm watching him very closely. No, he wasn't overconfident. But I think the great thing today is for McLaren getting the 1-2. They've never had their heads down. They're fighters, they're racers, and they've said, look, we've got to get 1-2s. From Häkkinen's point of view, it's the wrong way around. From Coulthard's point of view, he said, if I win here, this could kickstart my World Championship. And he's in with a big chance now.
Right. Good, OK. Well, listen, another British driver who did exceptionally well here today was the fellow who opened the programme. He did that depressingly well, too. Jenson Button, who's down there. Hey, Jenson, you're going to keep driving, aren't you? You're not going to take up this telly game, because you did that pretty well, our opening.
Thank you. I was a bit surprised, actually, on the first corner to get past Michael. But no, it was a good race for me.
Did you have a bit of a problem later on in the race, Jenson?
After the second pit stop, the engine doesn't seem to be at full power. We're not sure what the problem is. Maybe it's to do with the exhaust. We're not quite sure. But I'm sure we'll have a look into it, and hopefully we'll be there for the next race.
How aware were you, or are you even now, of the massive support for you around this circuit?
Oh, definitely. On the last couple of laps, you could see them. I don't normally look at the crowd, but you couldn't help it, really. They were jumping up and down, obviously for David as well. So it was an excellent feeling, and also after the checkered flag, I could see them all jumping around. So it's a really nice feeling inside, and great to get my 5th position. You
picked up your first Grand Prix point on the back of David Coulthard's being ruled out of the race in Brazil. Do you regard these points, though, really as your first genuine points?
Not really, because I really enjoyed Brazil. I thought I did quite well, and the team did an excellent job. Just pity we finished outside the top 7 on the road, but I think we deserved the point, and we've got 3 now. Well, I have, and Ralph's doing quite well as well, so it's looking good at the moment.
More experienced Formula One observers than me have described your progress this season as quite astounding. Jenson, are you personally a bit surprised by it as well?
I would call it a bit up and down, actually, after Imola. But no, this result, it was good to be here in front of the home crowd and get a 5th, also 6th in qualifying. But again, I know this circuit a bit more than the others, but hopefully I'll keep on pushing and get the results in the next race.
You're aware that there are a lot of different obstacles coming up for you the rest of the season, street circuits, Monaco, Indianapolis, things like that?
Oh, definitely. I found Imola quite difficult. It didn't help that we didn't get out in the morning practice of qualifying, but I'm going to push more and more every race, not do anything stupid hopefully, and just gain more experience, and hopefully we'll see me moving up the grid, but we'll see.
You know, you can let us into a few secrets here because there aren't many people watching out there in reality, but I mean, when you spoke to Martin before the start, you were so calm and you were so cool, and when those lights were going out one by one, was the ticker sort of beating rather faster than normal?
Definitely sitting behind Courtard and being able to see Schumacher on the left of me. It was an amazing feeling, and also coming out the corner in 5th was as well.
You must have been fantastically pleased at the way you got away here.
Definitely, I think they were held up a bit. I'm not sure what happened on the first corner. I was just concentrating on getting in the corner in front of as many as I could, and came out 5th. And it was actually nice to sit behind the McLarens for a few laps. It was at Hakkinen in front of me, I think, and it's good to see what lines he was taking and gain a bit of experience.
And was that comfortable for you up in that first 6 that ran on their own for so long? Did you feel the pace there, or was it well within your grasp?
Very comfortable. Definitely, no. It was hard work, and it always is in Formula 1, but I kept in there just and was able to come out 5th in the end.
Sure. Jensen, I feel sure there might be 1 or 2 more British Grand Prix for you around the corner. Just sum up for us, could you, your whole feelings about the weekend and your first experience at Silverstone in a Formula 1 race?
This, as you say, is my first experience in a Formula 1 car at Silverstone. British Grand Prix, it's a great feeling with the weather, the crowd. The team did an excellent job and came away with 2 points, so I'm very, very pleased, and I'll keep pushing on for the rest of Britain and get some good results, hopefully.
And we might just save you a few phone calls and a few letters and things like that, because I'm sure you've been inundated with good luck messages and things like that. You might just like, finally, to say a word to all your fans who are out there.
Yes, thank you for all the letters. I've had a lot waiting for me here when I got here, letters and the crowd and everything. They've been really good. Also when I've done my sponsor things, and a big thank you, and hopefully we'll get better at the next race.
Well done, Jensen. Great for you to join us again, and many congratulations to you and to the Williams team on your performance this afternoon. Thanks ever so much. There's plenty more still to come from us here at Silverstone. Of course, we will be hearing from the top 3, from David Coulthard, the winner here in particular. We got a competition. You saw them popping those old corks after the end of the race. You can actually win those champagne corks, and a rather bigger prize as well, a trip to the FA Cup final and to the European Grand Prix. That coming up on a very big sporting weekend in the middle of May. And there's more from me and from Tony here as we assess the British Grand Prix. See you soon.
Welcome to the top 3 finishing drivers in the British Grand Prix 2000. David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher. David, many congratulations. Back-to-back British Grand Prix wins. You must feel fantastic.
Yeah, I do. It's great. It's, you know, I had such a long time to think about it when I was out there, and I developed a small gearbox problem, and then I was sort of, you know, preparing to cry in the car because I thought, you know, I don't need this. But thankfully, it held together, so it's great for the team. We've got both cars, first and second. Obviously, I'm very happy for myself to win this race, to win it a second time. It's just fantastic. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Now, last year, it could have been said you inherited the win when Michael crashed and Mika broke down, but today you really won it with a superb move on Rubens. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be stuck behind Rubens until the stop, and I was comfortable with my stop and where we were able to run the engine, that I could hopefully go longer than he could. But then he made a small mistake coming out the last corner. Beckett's, I got it right and got a run on him. And I remember Nigel Mansell's moving PK a few years ago, so I thought I'll give that a go. And it held together, so obviously that gave me the advantage for the pit stops.
You set another first today. You were the first driver we've seen taking a phone call in Parc Fermé. Who rang you?
I was talking to Mr. Hubert from Mercedes-Benz, one of the board of directors, so obviously it's very important for Mercedes to get a win again after the first 3 races being lost, so he was very happy.
Thank you, David. Mika, your race kind of went wrong really at the start. What happened there?
Well, initially the start happened really well, and the car moved correctly. I got plenty of grip, and then suddenly just lost the grip, and obviously tried to get the best out of it, and I was still going quite well, and then David was side of me, so I was a bit blocked, and when we were heading towards to enter the first corner, obviously Michael was left side of me, and I had 2 decisions: either I continue going flat out or I left, so I decided to continue, and it was a bit unfortunate for the Michael, obviously, but generally I would say the start was the situation which decided a lot outcome of the race, and very unfortunate.
Were you happy with the car during the race? Because from the outside at times it looked like you were struggling a bit with it. I was. I did not have a right balance, and if you followed this morning warm up, I was hardly ever able to do any laps because I had a problem with the car. So to get the balance for the race, you know, you must have a good time. You have to have a good run in the morning, and I was lacking to that, so I was not able to get the best possible balance to the car. Thank you, Mika. Michael, you seem to suffer even worse from the start. You end up in 8th end of the first lap. Perhaps you can talk about how you saw those first few yards.
I mean, I had a very good start, honestly. I had the option to go to the middle, but there were so many cars. They didn't seem to be opening any door, so I tried the opportunity to go through the grass, which normally should have worked, but after so much rain the last days, the grass was so wet that I was just sitting there whispering and going nowhere. Obviously I lost the momentum then, and I don't know who was it. I think it was Button going on the inside past me, and then it was Villeneuve going on the outside past me, and then suddenly Ralph was coming and having a good fight with him for the first couple of corners. But then I really had to back off as we were going to the bridge, because it would have been very, very tight, and he did seem to be very keen to close the door, so I didn't want to risk anything, having enough with my brother, obviously. And I thought time will come for me, but then I really got stuck. I mean, I was behind Villeneuve, being much, much faster, but no way to overtake.
Given how far you fell behind the leading pack, are you quite happy to end up 3rd at the end of the day?
Absolutely. I mean, I ran for most of the race in 8th position, and I was thinking, well, I wonder how this race is going to develop for myself, and how many points I'm going to lose. At this stage, I was quite happy Rubens being first, taking away some points from the guys in front, like Mika and David. Unfortunately, he stopped for whatever reason, I don't know. So in the end of the day, I was very happy to come 3rd.
Thank you, Michael. David, move on now to Barcelona, which traditionally has been one of the best tracks for McLaren. You must feel very, very confident going into that weekend.
Yeah, we've always gone well at that circuit, and we've got a test there next week, so I see no reason why we won't be competitive there. I expect, obviously, Ferrari to be quick again, and it'll be close, but nonetheless, if we can run reliably, there's a chance we can win that race.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now a word from Mika and Michael in your own languages, please.
Tyytymätön on ehkä semmoinen sana, joka tällä hetkellä kuulostaa naurettavalta, koska tehtiin mahtava tulos tiimille ja Davidille ja mulle, niin tämä sijoitus on aivan niin kuin huippu. Eli nyt ei mitään muuta kuin keskitytään vaan tämänhetkisiin ongelmiin, että saadaan jatkuvuutta tälle tuloksille. Ja tietysti totta kai mun on jotakin sanottua syyksi, miksi mä olin tänään toinen, oli ehkä se, että startti ei onnistu täydellisesti. Ja sitten todellakin mä juutuin Ralphin ja Jensen Bottomin perään ja kaiken lisäksi vielä aamun harjoitukset, jotka mulla oli tänään, niin oli täynnä ongelmia. Eli mä sanon autoa säädetty ollenkaan kisaan itsensään, mutta ei mitään paineta, jatketaan menee vaan.
Mika and now Michael.
Alles in Ordnung, glaube ich, müssen wir und können wir mit dem 3. Platz trotz alledem zufrieden sein, weil nach dem erst guten Start, aber dann doch den verlorenen Plätzen Achter zu sein und noch im 3. vorzufahren, ist eigentlich für uns ganz gut gelaufen. Zumal David dieses Rennen gewonnen hat und Mika Zweiter war, ist von der Punktesituation her nicht sehr viel passiert im negativen Sinne und somit können wir eigentlich zufrieden sein. Es war zu erwarten, dass solche Situationen irgendwann mal vorkommen werden. Solange sie so vorkommen und wir trotzdem noch gute Punkte holen, können wir sehr zufrieden sein. Auto hat wieder gut gehalten, ist gut gelaufen, wie man zum Schluss gesehen hat. Schade für Rubens, dass er diesen ersten Sieg nicht herausfahren konnte. Aber wir haben noch, ich glaube, 13 Rennen jetzt zu fahren. Also da gibt es noch viele Möglichkeiten. Danke ans Team und all die Mechaniker. Merci. Vor Ostern noch.
finishing 11th, Johnny Herbert and Eddie Irvine 12th.
Tried it on the grass, but because of the weather conditions of the last couple of weeks, the grass was a little slippery there, so I lost it. Going up the bridge, he said, well, it's going to shut down, so I thought, it's only
Jenson Button, first home Grand Prix and first points you actually won on the track and not in the court. You must feel delighted.
Absolutely. I think I was quite impressed for the start more than anything. Overtaking Mike on the first corner. I know it was a bit of a tussle, but no, it was good to come out in fifth and to finish there. It's been a great race, actually. First race I've ever done with 2 pit stops. And the second race I finished and in the points again.
It must have been great feat to be actually on a par of speed with Mika Häkkinen, and you nearly got him once when he went wide.
Yeah, I know, he made a bit of a mistake into, I think it's Prix 2, where I almost slipped up the inside, but I was a bit too far back to try anything, and I wasn't going to do anything too stupid.
Now, the next circuit we go to is Barcelona. You've tested there as well. Do you think that's going to give you a chance to repeat the success?
Oh, we'll see. It'll be nice to do well at Barcelona as well, but this was the first one, concentrating on this one, and I think tomorrow I'll start looking towards Barcelona.
Jenson, congratulations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Brad, praise.
Heinz Frentzen, very bad luck. What was it that took you out of the race?
Well, the same problem we had in Imola, gearbox problem. That caused the problem.
Now, the car looked very, very competitive. You looked quicker than Rubens. You must have been on for like a 3rd or 4th place there.
Oh, well, actually, it appears like, because we were on 2 stops compared to Rubens, he was on 1 stop. But unfortunately, even the lower fuel level here is very difficult to overtake Silverstone in generally. So we just had already lost because of the strategy. We didn't think about that, or we didn't really thought about that McLaren Ferrari would go on 1 stop, but it worked out fine for them. The only problem for me was that I couldn't pass them, and I had to go to pit early. Then I attacked and I tried to get some quick lap times down, and when I was driving by my own. But even though it was really hard today to beat McLaren and Ferrari.
On an equal strategy, where do you think you are on pace with them?
Well, basically we're still behind the McLaren and Ferrari, and this depends the circuit how much time that is, but I can't tell you exactly, but if you calculate it later, it was probably today we were like 0.8 a lap slower than the McLarens.
Heinz, thanks. Very bad luck.
Back with us at Silverstone, the winner here of the British Grand Prix, David Coulthard, followed by McLaren teammate Mika Häkkinen, with Michael Schumacher, the World Championship leader, in 3rd place. We'll be hearing from all 3 in just a moment. Silverstone have just delivered a press statement to me that I feel I should read to you, and basically they've said sorry for what has happened here this afternoon. Chief Executive Dennis Rowan saying nobody wanted this to happen, especially those of us at Silverstone, talking about all the build-up and all the problems that people have had of getting in here. And you might just have spotted 1 or 2 of the grandstands very empty indeed, because people haven't been able to get here to Silverstone today. Dennis Rowan saying, despite our best efforts, the consistently wet weather over recent weeks caused damage to the car parks. This slowed up parking overnight and this morning. And to add further problems, the thick fog, which delayed F1 warm-up this morning, also prevented all flights of our and the police traffic control helicopters. Sorry, say Silverstone, the circuit will be right to all ticket holders over the coming days, with arrangements for refunds or replacement tickets where appropriate. And now the scramble to get home, of course, begins, and they'll probably meet those still trying to get here. Very nice. Tony.
Unless you're on a motorbike like me.
Unless you're on a motorbike, or you've got one of the helicopters that might take off because of the fog, which I know you tuck away in your garage, don't you? Remember bringing out your helicopter. Let's have a look back at the start of the race, shall we? Little Rubens Barrichello got off very well indeed. Villeneuve got a good start, and so did Jenson Button, but Michael Schumacher for once left at the gate.
Well, yeah, he was, but I mean, as opposed to the start he made in Imola when he had to cut across everyone. Look at this, Michael Schumacher go down the inside, they're taking a bit of the grass, but then he takes his own treatment and gets blocked by both the McLarens, which forced him in. Principally there, Mika Häkkinen, a beautifully judged start from Rubens Barrichello, a beautiful start from Jenson Button as well. But Ralf Schumacher here is already giving his brother a hard time. And if you remember back to '97, the European Grand Prix, when his brother tangled, Ralf and Michael tangled, and it put Michael out very early on. Here, look at Schumacher taking the white line there.
Contact there, though.
Well, we're not sure. I'm not sure. It's not close enough to tell from there, but that forced him right back, and Häkkinen determined to just get away there. Look at it again. And just look where Schumacher making a really good start for a change, and he has had a lot of wheel spin. He has made some bad starts, and particularly 2 weeks ago at Imola, it was a very, very bad start for him again. Now look at it this time. Again, Rubens Barrichello, look at him getting away. Frentzen making a good start. There's the squeeze there. There's David Coulthard ahead of Häkkinen. Great start by David Coulthard as well. Right from the beginning, he was on it and off. Brilliant.
Just checking outside now, and you wouldn't want to be in that lot really on an Easter Sunday if you could help it, but they have at least had the benefit of a very good British Grand Prix. But the battle to leave 1 or 2 mud baths in the car parks there, I feel they'll be digging them out as well. The battle to leave Silverstone is very much on. Tony, looking at David Coulthard, the winner, we were with him on board, weren't we? And when he put that move on Rubens Barrichello, one of the few overtaking moments that we saw here, but a very good one.
There were a few at the beginning, but this is Scotland the Brave, because this was outside at Stowe. This is the corner with all the incidents. This is where in the training, of course, that they had last week, Zonta vaulted over the barriers. This is where they got the extra layer of the tyres and the belting up as well. But Coulthard had been lining up for a while on that, looking to get past Rubens Barrichello. And superb passing manoeuvre by David Coulthard, and he's been on it all the time. I'm so pleased for him. I'm really happy. Now just look at this. Get right up the exhaust. He must have taken a lot of really dirty air there and going so wide off onto the outside and chopping across the nose of Rubens Barrichello. That's like the pair of them in Formula 3 in 1991 in the British Formula 3 Championship when DC was runner-up and Rubens Barrichello won. But look at them at play in Grand Prix cars now. With 3 litre with all that power, and the day belongs to David Coulthard, and driving like that, I really hope that gives him so much more confidence. I really hope that kick-starts off his championship, because that was a fabulous move.
OK, Martin's dashed from the commentary box to join us. Martin, looking at your man, David Coulthard, I don't mean your man, but I know you're close and you do help him a little bit. Looking at that manoeuvre there and his overall performance, you must be delighted, but I think we all are, because we all feel that he needed that today.
He did badly, didn't he? I mean, he needs to get the qualifying sorted out, but he made up for it with a textbook race. The start was good, kept his nose clean. He knew he had a heavy car at the beginning of the race, drove accordingly. Frentzen released him. Frentzen's strategy released him into Barrichello, and that overtaking manoeuvre you just saw, I mean, it looks relatively simple from such a far out camera angle. It is 195 miles an hour, and you've got to say, I'm going to go for it. He may run into me, I've got to commit, and David made that move 5 or 6 seconds earlier down the straight. In his head, he had that move sorted. Rubens necessarily defending the inside line, but then you have to lift a little bit more. The corner's a little bit more acute. David knows that as well, of course, and just went for it. Brilliant.
Noticed in your commentary you were saying, you've got to go for it, David, you've got to go for it. He didn't have a feed of your commentary in his ear and sort of take your instruction there, did he? It looked a bit like it.
It could be, I don't think so.
I'm only winding you up, don't worry.
But, no, it was quite clear. I think I was trying to make the point in the commentary. Although the other 3 had peeled off into the pits, they were all lapping at about the same speed. So the race was still on. You couldn't see them in the same frame. And I knew if Coulthard was going to take the race, he needed to make the most of getting ahead of Barrichello. And that's why passing that Minardi was a drama to him as well, because it was quite clear the in-laps, out-laps, and that stop in the pits was going to make or break the afternoon. And a couple of things David did made sure that the dice rolled for him, especially, of course, that mega move on Barrichello.
I know, just change the subject slightly, I know that Williams were extra keen to get Jenson Button right for Silverstone. That was one of their key areas of thinking in his first year for Jenson Button. I couldn't ask him because he is not actually responsible for tactics, but do you think that Williams and Jordan got things wrong today?
Yes, I do. I think Jordan went with a 2-stopper, it seemed to me. Williams went with one that looked like they could stretch it a little bit. I think Ferrari and McLaren gave themselves an each-way bet. Jordan went solidly for 2. And I thought Williams had put themselves in that position too of having a bit of flexibility. Jenson's stop was 10.3 seconds, which seems a long fill, but if you remember, I pointed out, it was a long time getting away and the clock stops then rather than when the nozzle is on and off. I'm really surprised, to be honest, that Williams didn't put extra fuel in those 2 cars when we saw the race unfold. I mean, I called it. I said, oh, for sure they're going to the end. I was amazed when they came in the pits.
Sure. OK, but without being silly, he could have been on the podium, couldn't he?
Jenson?
Yeah.
Absolutely, a solid drive. I mean, clearly at the end he had some kind of mechanical drama that was holding the revs down or something, but and not a fitness issue or driving issue. But anyway, he's still a pretty solid 5th, isn't it?
He is indeed. OK, thanks for the moment. We'll hear the Williams version of that in just a moment. Now let's go to the press conference and hear from the top 3, from Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard.
David, many congrats.
As they did last year with McLaren 1-2 around the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. That's our next port of call, Martin. Do you see this very much as the start of a McLaren fight back this year?
Absolutely, they needed to do it, didn't they? And there's plenty of races left yet. Michael Schumacher's all too aware of how quickly it can come to an abrupt halt, as it did in the British Grand Prix last year. They appear to have found reliability in the McLaren. That's two recent starts, 4 cars effectively to the end in the last 2 Grand Prix. So it seems like the reliability issue is over. Now it's a question of pace, and I think, as we've said all through the year, there's almost nothing between them. So now it's down to the strategy that we get so excited about in the middle of the race that's going to make it count.
Let me just check on how things look, or just remind you how things look now after the 4th race of the 2000 Formula One season. It's a 20-point lead now for Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard clear second after his victory here at Silverstone today. Then world champion Mika Häkkinen a couple of points away. Rubens Barrichello, the pole sitter who spun out today, and Ralf Schumacher 4th, and Giancarlo Fisichella, who failed to score in 6th place for Benetton. Ferrari and the constructors still well clear of McLaren, but McLaren have cut that gap considerably this afternoon. BMW 3rd, and then Benetton and Jordan 4th equal, and BAR still with those 6 points courtesy of Jacques Villeneuve. Let's continue to have a look back at the race, Tony. Rubens Barrichello, who grew the beard here and we thought might be his first Grand Prix victory after all those efforts. And he was looking pretty good, and then I think he had a malfunction, and we couldn't blame this on driver error.
No, he couldn't, but I mean, today should have been his day. He had the car underneath him to do it. You know, he had the team behind him to do it. You know, unlike France last year, you know, where he started off at the front and he got through in the rain and he drove brilliantly there. You always knew he was going to get overhauled, and here something went wrong. Now, I don't know, Martin might have a different view from me, but we've got the simplification of all the computer-controlled electronics here, and there's limits on what the guys can do. Whether that's affected the hydraulics or not, I'm not sure that we'll know, but clearly, from his reaction when he came in, shaking his head, he'd already had a problem coming in, because he just assumed the lead after Coulthard had come in for his stop at this point. So you imagine how he would have been feeling. And of course, on Brazil's 500th birthday, all the right reasons, this should have been Rubens Barrichello's day. And after 115 Grand Prix, that's very, very sad for him indeed.
He's sort of looking such a frustrated fellow in there, Martin. He must be wondering if he's ever going to actually win a Grand Prix. But can you throw any more light on the way he went out of the race, having seen those pictures once again?
Yes, well, we saw the little pool of hydraulic fluid that was left underneath his car when he came to stop, and you can still see some steam coming out of the left-hand side pod now. I think the way the car just easily broke away from him, either he had the car downshifting when it shouldn't have done because he'd lost hydraulic pressure, or I think most likely he spun on some of his own hydraulic fluid. It's pretty slippery stuff.
It was sad, wasn't it? Because, I mean, listening to James down there, it seemed that Ferrari, for once, had gathered their forces behind Rubens here today.
It does seem that way. James seemed to have some inside information on that, which I hadn't picked up on, and I'm not quite sure.
Perhaps after the way things panned out at the start, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but they fueled Michael's car up to go an awful long way, and it paid off for him, didn't it, in the end? I think they were probably running two separate races. I'd be surprised if they were running Michael to support Rubens myself, but they certainly saw Rubens as their best chance to win this race and minimise the damage, keep the McLarens back in the World Championship. But unfortunately, you know, if you have that, there's nothing a driver can do. You only press the paddles and press the throttle. You're not even connected to your engine with any kind of cable. It's through a little potentiometer and some Fandango electronics. So, you know, nothing Rubens can do about it.
On race strategy, Martin, I mean, how much input is there from the driver? I'm thinking particularly about Messrs. Frentzen and Button. How much would they be responsible for the race strategy, or would they be told, hey, we're stopping there, we're refueling there, we'll take the decisions, you just drive the car?
Well, it's data-driven, therefore it's driven by the teams. The drivers will have an input, but at the end of the day, you've seen the stuff that James does for you at the beginning of races, before race starts, of the strategy, the computer printouts, and that's what drives it. Information they gather through testing or through the race weekend, the stop here of Frentzen. Sadly, we'd have to come in again for another stop, and you can see him now losing track position here to Michael Schumacher going through Copse. But that really must be driven by the tyre degradation, fuel load data that they collect over the weekend.
These are, I think we're looking at here as Heinz-Harald Frentzen comes out. I think we're seeing these crucial second stops here, Martin, that well, we reckon could well have cost Jensen a place on the podium.
Yes, he stopped actually lap 24. I mean, it wasn't really into one-stop territory, to be fair to the team. I don't know what their fuel consumption situation is at BMW Williams, although they did run a long, long way, 46 laps, I think, into the Brazilian Grand Prix, suggesting they could have one-stopped today had they have wanted to. But, you know, you also have to say they were in contention. They had the pace because they were running a slightly lower fuel load, and I think that's why everything looks so close at the front. McLarens couldn't get away or get near anybody, but they were a little bit fatter on the fuel, with the exception of Michael Schumacher.
Tony, you've been very much part of that decision-making process. I mean, you've been a team manager in your time and things like that. How hard is it to switch things once you've decided which way you're going to go?
Well, of course, when I was working, we were working with an abacus, so it's slightly...
yeah, and a notebook.
Not completely
Beads.
literate, which I'm right. That'd be a lot. And it wasn't so much part of the game. We used to have to make pit stops if we were using too much fuel or the tyres were running down or whatever it is, and suddenly the guy come barreling down the pits. And it wasn't as strategic as it is now, but you'd still have to make a lot of calculations nevertheless, and working with a lot of different guys. And in fact, a comparison I can make working at McLaren in the early days with Prost, it's so like Jenson Button, I can't believe it, because in the first 2 races we had a 5th and a 6th, and in the first 4 races he's had a 5th and a 6th, and he's going the same. I know, you know, the experts, the proper drivers, they know he's got a long, long way to go and a mountain to climb, like the curbs at Imola, as we've already described for Jenson. But remarkable similarities there.
You know what things are like in this life, Martin. You make one sort of comment and people use it against you throughout the season. And a comment you made about Jenson before he started, when you were worried about him, has been used against you. Well, certainly in the first 3 months of this season. Do you feel inclined to change your mind, or did you still feel that Jenson has a heck of a lot to do before he becomes right at the top level?
No, I think what I said I would stand by in many respects. It came across a little clumsily, and a headline writer added a bit of spice to what was actually a 1,000-word column. Sure. And I was making the point that this kid is super talented. It's clear to see through his career so far, and we saw him on the grid today. He's so calm. I was trying to pay him a compliment by saying his emotional level is so calm. It's just something spectacular. But I was really crying to say, don't make the mistake I did, Jenson. I came into Formula 1, 5th in my first Grand Prix. I was 2nd in my 6th Grand Prix. In my 7th Grand Prix, I was in the wall and I hurt myself badly because I thought it was so easy. I thought, OK, I've won in Formula 3. Here I am. I'm just behind Piquet, the reigning world champion in Formula 1. Inevitably, bang, I was in the wall, and it really pretty much affected the rest of my career. And it was my, slightly clumsily put, I have to say, way of saying to him, there's a lot of hurdles to clear, Jenson. Please don't get too confident too quickly, because you've got a great future ahead of you. And I wondered, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of pressure on him, especially here at Silverstone. He's coped with it well. I mean, he's done much better than I ever dreamed he could, I have to say. And I have to put my hand up and say, at least I had the wherewithal to come up and speak my mind. A lot of people thought he'd come to Formula 1 too early. A lot of people. A few people said it, and I stand by the reasons why I said it, but he's proving us wrong at the moment, and I'm jolly pleased he is.
And he had a lovely moment here, didn't he, Marty, when, all right, Heinze Harold was struggling, but it'd be one of those moments he might just have a look at and have a quiet smile at with his video.
Is this where he...
As he overtakes him here, he's stuck in gear here, isn't he? And I think we'll see Jenson go past him shortly.
He's sort of had I mean, Frenton's limping, to be honest. He's a wounded animal and a bit easy to pick off. What he would have been much more pleased about would have been his start and taking and keeping ahead of Michael Schumacher into the first corner. And then, even better than that, hooked up behind Häkkinen and just stayed with them. Absolutely no problem at all. We now know he had a bit less fuel on board, of course.
Yeah, he said he felt comfy, never felt under any stress.
Well, exactly, but nothing seems to faze him, does it? I mean, there must be something that gets him overly excited.
We'll find out. We'll find. Go on,
I was just going to say he does everything early. I reckon he'll be moving to Monte Carlo early as well, probably before the end of the year, because he's got his own clothing line, the Jenson Button collection, and so it's gone on. It's an amazing rise to fame, and I just echo Martin's sentiments there, that I hope that he keeps that equilibrium and that he keeps a certain calmness or whatever. He's saying, well, I might have to go to Monte Carlo. He said, I've checked some of the pubs out down there and they're all right, so quite fancy.
Yeah, you don't go to Monte Carlo on the back of a few cap sales, I'll tell you now. You need a few race wins, then
you would know that.
Then he knows that. Then the big money comes in.
I mean, I was listening to Sir Frank Williams in one of the media conferences this week, and he was still a bit cagey about whether Williams will actually re-sign Jenson Button at the end of the season. Can you really see him letting him go?
I said, I think, in the telecast that it was very brave. Frank, I think, stuck his neck out a bit for Jenson. I think technically Junqueira was probably showing more potential when they had this head-to-head, and I think it was led by Sir Frank he prefers to be called Frank actually, but to go for it. But I think he'd be incredibly brave to dump him as well, wouldn't he? I mean, the problem is with Montoya, he's dominating at times in IndyCar racing, but then so did Zanardi.
Can I just say very quickly that Sir Frank has said we need more evidence before we're going to choose.
OK, Tony. Well, let's have a little word with Williams, see their slant on this British Grand Prix. We've got Patrick Head Now talking about how his Williams pair did, and he is talking to Louise.
Well done, Patrick. 2 cars home and both in the points.
Yep, very pleasing, and it was an interesting race. I think we had a problem with an exhaust, a cracked exhaust or something with Jensen's car, and up to that point he was right on Ralph's tail, but you could see on the speeds, on the speed traps, that it knocked quite a bit of power off the engine, and that slowed him for the last 8 or 10 laps. But no, great, makes us feel a bit more solid as a team, and we've just got to add a bit of speed to the car, which we're working on.
Tell us about your strategy. It seemed like a very late second stop. We were thinking for a while, or hoping for a while, it was a one-stop strategy. You were going to have both cars on the rostrum.
No, it was always a 2-stop strategy for us. The problem really was how well the tyres were going to last on this very green track, and I think anybody that went for a one-stop was not really taking a gamble, but they'd obviously got good information on tyre wear. But anyway, I don't think if we'd gone for a one-stop we would have done better in the race, so quite pleased with the result.
Well done.
Yes, well done indeed. A 2 Patrick Head, 2 in the points for Williams, a 1-2 though for McLaren boss Ron Dennis, and straight after the race James Allen had a word with him.
Ron Dennis, a tactical masterstroke today. You must be absolutely delighted.
Quite pleased.
Strategically, you absolutely walked it today. But what was going on with Mika Häkkinen's car? He seemed a little bit off colour in the midpoint of the race.
Obviously pretty heavy because we converted to a one-stop strategy, and we knew where we were in relationship to the others. All the cars in front, other than David, was clearly on a 2-stop, so we were just saving the tyres a little bit. We're pretty comfortable with the outcome.
But you've got exactly the result you wanted, your first 1-2 of the season, and you go on from here. You're at the beginning of a McLaren winning streak, you think?
We'll do our best.
Well done, Ron. Thanks.
Never write them off. We have a competition coming up for you. We will also be talking to David Coulthard when you rejoin us. You're back with us at Silverstone for the 2nd year running. We have a British winner of the British Grand Prix and a Scot. David Coulthard joins us. David, many congratulations from us all up here in the studio. How much does it mean to you to win at Silverstone?
Well, it obviously meant a great deal winning last year, but to do it 2 in a row, to do it with all the problems that obviously the crowd have experienced this weekend with the weather and what have you, it's just fantastic. You know, it really gives my championship a kickstart, and I am delighted.
We all feel up here, and then Martin Brundle and Tony Jardine are alongside me, that you needed something here today because your season was starting to run away from you.
No, absolutely. You know, I need to get the points. We can't afford for Michael to get too far ahead. I can't afford to be dropping behind Mika, so obviously that helps me a great deal here today. And, you know, I've always rated my wins by who's been standing beside me on the podium, and if I've got the two times world champions either side of me, then obviously, you know, I did a good job, and I'm delighted.
It's a shame they stole those 6 points off you, DC, for Brazil, but what I enjoyed most today was the move around the outside of Barrichello. We don't see many of those in Formula 1 these days. Take us through it. It was awesome. Yeah, no, I'm you know, that move, when I got the toe on him, and you know what that's like, I pulled to the outside, and I remembered the Mansell move in Piquet, and I thought, well, I'm going for it, and, you know, I'm hungry for success. I've got stuck in, and I've always been able to battle hard with people, so hopefully it will stop some of the criticism about whether I'm too nice to go racing. You know, I'm not nice, I want to win, and I've done it here today.
No more Mr. Nice Guy then, David, but how much in your battle, when you have to put it that way, with Mika Häkkinen, how big a sort of factor will this be, will this result be for you?
Yeah, it undoubtedly helps in terms of positioning within the team, but Mika's still clearly very quick. He's still getting in front of me in qualifying, and that's what I have to work towards. And anytime I've managed to be running in front of him in the track, then I've usually gone on to finish in front of him. So I've got to start getting my qualifying right to get the track position, but it's certainly not going to be easy, but I'm going to work hard towards it.
Did you feel in some way that your victory here last year was overshadowed by the Michael Schumacher crash?
Yeah, it was. When I bought the papers the next day, so looking for see how my makeup looked, I didn't see any pictures of myself. It was all Michael. So, but that's understandable. But hopefully now to win it twice, you know, any British driver would love to win it once, but to get it 2 times, it's just fantastic.
You managed to keep your boots dry when you went off the track, DC, on Saturday when the car broke down, but you can afford to buy another pair of boots now, can you, or what?
Yeah, with the bonus that I can get from this win, I might be able to buy another pair, but maybe now Adidas might start supplying me some boots as well.
Just tell us, who were you on the phone to at the end of the race? We don't see too many people on the mobiles before they go up on the podium.
It was Mr. Hooper, one of the board of directors from Mercedes-Benz, and obviously they all are very enthusiastic about their investment in the sport, and they want to have victories. So he was on the phone straight away to congratulate us, and Norbert handed the phone over. So I had a little chat with him.
Just quickly, David, that start was a great start by you, but were you aware of Hakkinen on the inside of you there and Schumacher? It all looked very tight from our cameras.
Yeah, no, I saw them there in my mirror, but you know, you just got to go for it, and I had track position, and there's no way I was giving it up.
Lots of support for you from north of the border, David. You might just like to have a little word with some of them up there. I would think it could be quite an Easter Sunday night.
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned to you when I was in the studio on Friday, you know, I carry a British passport, but I'm obviously very proud of my Scottish roots. So I think that the whole country, anyone who follows the sport, can be proud of this victory if you're British. You know, they all helped me, and I'm going to be celebrating, so I hope they are as well.
Do you have any plans at all for a celebration tonight, or are you going to go and put your feet up and watch the video?
Yeah, no, I did actually. I organised a party for the mechanics, just as a little thank you to them for all the hard work they do. So I'd organised something anyway. So now we really have something to celebrate. So I believe that they were meant to be stripping the cars and then going to the party, but that's now been cancelled by Dave Ryan, so they can just get themselves cleaned straight to the marquee, and we can party on.
David, you don't have to play golf with us tomorrow morning, so you'll be able to relax and sleep in. He couldn't hit the ball last year.
No, that's right. I had a terrible hangover, but I've actually got a christening tomorrow. Paul Stewart and Victoria Stewart's youngest that I'm going along to, so I've got to be there at 10, so I can't be too late tonight.
Well, listen, David, one thing is for sure. I mean, every time you come up here as a guest of ITV, you win a Grand Prix, so we've got you booked in for about another dozen this season. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'm going to come and visit you and rub your lucky rabbit's foot or whatever it was you have up there.
Okay. Hey, well done, David. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Well done, DC.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, from David Coulthard, we go to our competition. And for those of you who love your football as well as your F1, this one is right up your alley.
It's a classic ITV doubleheader of great sporting action. The FA Cup final and the European Grand Prix on the same weekend. You could be at both of them. We're giving away VIP trips for two to the match and the race on the weekend of the 20th of May. We'll whisk you from Wembley to the Nürburgring with top hospitality all the way. We also have a couple of great runners-up prizes. There's a replica of Mika Häkkinen's race helmet and the actual gloves and drinks bottle he's using this weekend. And the second runners-up prize, that's a magnum of Mum champagne as used on the podium, and the actual 3 corks from the bottles of bubbly sprayed at this Sunday's Silverstone celebrations. So for your chance to win, just answer this question. Bridge Corner is a feature of the Silverstone track, but which English football club plays at the Bridge? Is it A, Northampton Town, B, Chelsea, or C, Aston Villa? A, Northampton Town, B, Chelsea, or C, Aston Villa? And here's the number to dial. 09065 811 811. 09065 811 811. The lines will close on Wednesday the 3rd of May. We'll announce the winners of the Spanish Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time, and the very best of luck to you all.
Those corks are worth an absolute fortune. Highlights tonight at 11:15, more reaction, comments and analysis, and another chance to see that highlight show, ITV2, tomorrow night at 7. And as we've been saying, next we go to Barcelona. The full service on the weekend of 6th and 7th of May, qualifying 11:30 the Saturday morning, the race live from 12:15 on the Sunday, and 11:35 the time for the highlights. It's been different, that is for sure. We won't forget the Silverstone 2000 experience.
The weather is frightening, the thunder and lightning seem to be having their way. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a lovely day.
Yes, isn't this a lovely day to be caught in the rain? You were going on your way, now you've got to remain.
I see the sun up high, though we're caught in the storm.
Caught in the storm, babe.
I can see where you and I could be cozy and warm.
Cozy and warm.
Let the rain pitter-patter, but it really doesn't matter if the skies are gray. Long as I can be with you, it's a lovely day. Long as I can be with you, it's a lovely day.
Okay, on the day, Martin, I guess your final thoughts on Silverstone 2000?
The very best in the world have coped admirably with everything, but I'm not talking about the drivers, I'm talking about the Formula One fans of Great Britain.
They've had it tough.
They've had a wicked weekend, but they've been here, they turned up in the end, they walked miles, they wanted to see, and Coulthard delivered.
Tony?
Start of the McLaren fight back, hopefully, and I'm sure they will remember that in 1998 they had a 22-point lead after 5 races. That went down to 4 points before Japan. They can turn it round.
Thanks both. Can we have our July back, please? We say congratulations to McLaren, and in particular to David Coulthard, and from the whole ITV team here at Silverstone, happy Easter. Good afternoon to you all.
F1 on ITV in association with Texaco.
Hello, Jos. What happened to you and your car? Hello. What happened to you and the car?
We had an electrical problem. We don't know what it is on the moment, but it looks like an electrical problem.
How was the car beside that during the race?
It wasn't too bad. It was going quite well. I mean, but the problem we had showed up after 8-9 laps, and we were losing a bit of top speed because of that. And it's a shame because I think we could finish in the points.
Okay, sorry for you, Jos, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Hello, Craig. Your comment to that race from Jacques so far is on 7th position. Are you happy with that?
Well, we're not unhappy with it. We started down in 10th. We've gained 3 places, and it looks like there's at least 2 cars in front of us. It has to do another stop, so we could gain another 2 places. So we'll just do a bit of luck.
Your comment on the race between Jacques and Michael, it was a very tough race. Did Jacques hold Michael a little bit up?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Michael has the faster car, but I think what we can say is Jacques was pressured all the time by Michael, and that's probably one of Jacques' biggest attributes. He's not going to be pressured.
Okay, thank you. Good luck to you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Gary Hansen, both your drivers came for their second stops, and they both stalled. Same problem?
Well, I don't know what it was, really. It wasn't planned to happen, obviously, so there's something obviously in the idle control that's not correct, and just let the engine stall.
Now, on Johnny's stop, a man put a big plunger down. We saw a gap.
Sorry?
During Johnny's stop, someone put a big plunger in this cockpit and some steam came out. What's that about?
Some steam came out, yeah? No, I don't think so. I think there was some smoke from the front brake, that was all. Just very hot, the front brakes.
Thanks a lot.
Ja, also beide Motoren abgestorben. Ja.
Rubens, you had such a fantastic race, but did you have any problems? What caused the spin?
Yeah, I had a hydraulic problem, and then the engine was cutting. It was cutting every time from the last 2 laps. It was cutting out. So the moment I went into Luffield, the last corner, the engine cut it out, and all of a sudden it came back. So it was happening all through the last 2 laps, but it was happening on the straights or on the short straights before the braking. But that time it happened in the middle of the corner. So then when the engine came back, I spun. So but then they were telling me I wouldn't last for much longer anyway. So that lap I was having to come in.
Great disappointment, but Michael did move up. Is that making it up a bit for you?
I mean, I'm here to prove that I can win myself, and today was a great chance. I could have done it, and it's really unfortunate that
a problem with the reliability, put me out of the race.
It's the first time this year you had such a big problem. Ferrari normally well known for good reliability.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I had a problem in Brazil, and now I have a problem over here. So it's really, really unlike.
What's happening next week?
Next week we're testing in Barcelona, trying to fix the other problems.
Thank you very much. Can you explain me what...
Und da haben wir noch einmal Rubens Barrichello mit meinem Freund Nick Damon.
Rubens Barrichello, very bad luck. You were leading the race very easily on 2 occasions, then you had a slight problem. What happened there?
I had a hydraulic problem with the car, and the engine was cutting every time I was, for the last 5 laps, the engine was cutting in the middle of the straights or in the middle of the corners, and unfortunately at that lap it cut as I went into left field, and then I lost the car because the engine died and all of a sudden picked up, and there wasn't much I could do. You saw when I was spinning that I didn't have the control of the car because I didn't have clutch or throttle. So it's very bad. It looks like the same problem as I had in Brazil.
Now, when you were leading, you were, in a way, sort of holding everyone else up. Was that because you were going as fast as you can, or were you tactically trying to keep Michael from falling too far behind?
I wasn't working for Michael today. I was working for myself.
Rubens, bad luck. Thank you.
Ja, klare Aussage von Rubens Barrichello.
Mika, it looked like you were struggling with the car in this race.
Yeah. How can you see that outside or what?
Yeah, very obvious.
I was. It was pretty difficult, you know. But I lost the time a lot in this morning. A lot of time this morning to set the car up with the engineers. So.
And you had the same problem in the morning as in the race. The same problem, you think?
No, different problem, completely different problem.
Can you talk us through a little bit?
If we talk about generally the race, you know, it was a good performance on the whole team. You know, I think we did a fabulous job to finish first and second.
David, congratulations. The second winning in a row in your home Grand Prix must be a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, absolutely delighted. It's a great feeling for me. Obviously, it's early in the season as well to get a victory, get back into the championship hunt. And couldn't happen at a better place than at Silverstone.
Can you tell us something about the move you did with Rubens?
Yeah, I remember the move that Mansell made in Piquet a few years ago, and went round the outside, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go, and if it works, then I'm looking good. So it worked, thankfully, and I'm very happy with that. And to make a pass and win the Grand Prix is unusual nowadays, but I was quite happy.
Congratulations.
Now, Ben McLeod. Obviously, failing to do as many laps as I wanted to do this morning because of the technical problem. I had to start the Grand Prix with the car, but I didn't know, and it wasn't right. And I lost a lot of time on the corners just because the car didn't handle like we want the car to handle.
But nonetheless, a McLaren 1-2. Is this the start of your fight back?
Yes, it is.
I have had such a fantastic start of the season, so I knew once we will have a little drop down, and if this is the drop down, I'm quite happy with such a situation, just losing 2 points basically.
Ralph, once again, your best of the rest. Another good day for you.
Well, it was indeed for a whole team, for Jensen and myself, scoring points again. And, you know, we seem to be reliable, quick. And, you know, we are now looking forward to be third in the championship again. I think we could achieve that goal at the end of the year as well.
I don't normally look at the crowd, but you couldn't help it, really. They were jumping up and down, obviously for David as well. So it was excellent, an excellent feeling. And also after the checkered flag, I could see them all jumping around. So it's a really nice feeling inside, and great to get my 5th position.
I've been struggling a lot, especially with the gearbox. From the half of the race to the end, no way to drive that car. I was pushing hard because I know I was trying to do the best, but the gearbox just locking on, every shifting down and the shifting up was just misfiring. And I had a lot of problems. I must say I was lucky to finish the race.
Poor old Heinz, you know, I just felt so disappointed for him as much as anyone, the sponsors and the team, because to be quickest on the Friday and then on pole or on the front row for the race, it didn't seem like fair that he should have that problem just at the end, and it's a problem that we've had for a while, which we thought we'd have all the parts ready for here, but unfortunately, even with 24 hours in the day, they'll only be ready for next race, which in a way is the end of our problems, hopefully, but it's no consolation as we speak.
So then 4 points for Michael Schumacher means he's 20 clear of today's winner, David Coulthard. Then Hakkinen, the Finn, has still never won here at Silverstone. Ralf Schumacher is level with Barrichello now. No improvement, though, for Giancarlo Fisichella today. Meantime, Ferrari's lead in the Constructors has been reduced to 17 points. Williams, with Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button both scoring, move up to 3rd. Then Benetton and Jordan VAR still on those 6 points. OK, then I'm joined by Tony Jardine and by Murray Walker. And sum it all up for us, Murray, could you?
Well, first of all, a terrific drive by Rubens Barrichello. Let's not forget that he led the race for a long time. I thought David Coulthard's passing move on him was an absolute classic. He said he was thinking of Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet at the time. That's exactly what it reminded me of. And David Coulthard, 2 wins in a row here at Silverstone, can be very pleased with himself. So can Mika Häkkinen, his second successive second place, and Michael Schumacher's got nothing to be ashamed about either.
Just looking back at the start of the race, though, Murray, a bit of an incident perhaps between Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher, and certainly Häkkinen saying a lot was decided here.
Yeah, well, Michael was a key player here. You see, look at him, the red Ferrari, he got his wheels on the grass and lost traction because it was so wet. So Barrichello pulls ahead, Frentzen slots into second place. Now let's look at it again. Look for the second Ferrari on the right. See, there are his wheels on the grass. The McLarens pull away. His brother Ralph goes through, and Jacques Villeneuve was up there again. Now look, watch Schumacher on the left. He tries to get past Häkkinen. Häkkinen crowds him, and he doesn't. So, what a change.
Tony, Murray mentioned it, your magic moment of this Silverstone weekend, that move that David Coulthard put on the Brazilian Barrichello.
I'm going to nick Murray's magic moment and go for the same one. I can't help it, because Murray's absolutely right. I mean, what Mansell did there in '87 was he'd caught Piquet towards the end of the race, and he sold him a dummy. He went one way, feinted one way in the good rugby fashion, and did him. And Coulthard almost did the same thing, but tucked right under the rear wing of Rubens Barrichello, slingshot round the outside and chops Barrichello's nose off. Reminder of 1991, when these two were dicing together for the British Formula 3 Championship. On that occasion, Rubens Barrichello finally won and David Coulthard was runner-up. But these two guys know this place. It's their backyard. But great to see them both dicing together, and Coulthard magic there.
I think that the Ferrari had it geared up here, not for a Michael Schumacher victory, to push Rubens Barrichello to his first ever Grand Prix win, and sadly the Ferrari unusually let him down.
Yeah, I thought it was such a shame. I'm sure Murray would agree with me that everything was going so well for him today, and then this happened, an hydraulics failure, and we think perhaps that some of the fluid came round and onto the wheels, caused him to spin like that. And look at the water on the grass there. I mean, it's been mostly dry today. He'd had some sort of a problem. He was coming in, shaking his head there. I don't know whether the new simplified electronics have caused this. We don't know. But I mean, hydraulics they blamed in Brazil as well, although we think it was the engine. Rubens is getting the bad luck at the moment. That's a terrible shame. Should have been his first win.
Yeah. Of course, Williams, the second pit stop, probably cost Jenson Button a place on the podium. Same really for Jordan, who were going so well with Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But then, of course, Frentzen was really struggling, and Jenson Button, who had such a good day here, went past him.
Yeah, I mean, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, we're with him now, was driving a hobbled car. He was going a lot slower than he had been earlier on in the race. He must have been despairingly watching Jenson Button come up in his mirrors. But this was also a magic moment for me. Jenson Button, 5th place is 5th place, and it's 2 World Championship points, however you get them. And to finish where he did was an absolutely superb achievement. Well done, Jenson.
We've had an official apology from Silverstone to lots of fans who tried to get here and couldn't get here. We had empty grandstands, loads of queues all around the circuit. I'd just like finally for you two really to really sum up the weekend we've all suffered here and say whether you think it should happen again, Tony.
Well, I mean, we hope. I think all of us hope it doesn't happen again. I mean, they definitely need to have some hard standing here for the car parks, because it can still rain in July as well. But in general terms, I think Silverstone have been incredibly brave to get through the weekend and be very brave to ask people to stay away, because they knew it would be even worse if they allowed them to come in. So they've got through it somehow, but you can't help feeling sorry for all the people out there who haven't made it. They are going to get refunds. Somehow they've come through the other end.
Jim, this was the English climate at its perverse worst. We shouldn't think it only happens at Silverstone. I've seen the race stopped in Australia after 14 laps. The European Grand Prix last year was terrible. Spa is always terrible. It's not just Silverstone, but it's very tough luck that it was Silverstone this year, and my heart bleeds for the spectators. At least we got in and we saw a fabulous race.
So say all of us. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.
And so here's your complete Silverstone rundown. David Coulthard's first win of the year. Hakkinen second for a McLaren Maximum. The world champion also had the fastest lap. Michael Schumacher has to settle for third. Ralph, Mr. Consistency in the points once again. Fifth, what a great effort from Button. Trulli scoring for Jordan in their 150th Grand Prix. A lap behind, Fisichella, Sarlo, Wurz, Alesi, that's his first finish of the season, Diniz, then the Jaguars together, Herbert and Irvine, and then the Minardi, Genet and Mazzacane. Villeneuve and Frentzen both had failed gearboxes, oil pressure in the Prost, finished Heidfeld, Zonta spun off, Barrichello had that hydraulics problem, De La Rosa's electronics failed, and in the other orange arrows, Verstappen's gearbox went. In a couple of weeks' time, we go to Barcelona, where the McLarens had a great 1-2 last year, qualifying live on the Saturday from 11:30 in the morning. The race, our build-up starting at 12:15 Sunday, May the 7th, and highlights at 11:35. That's the story from Silverstone then, the first time the British Grand Prix has been staged in April in 50 years. Hopefully, the experiment won't be repeated. We say congratulations to David Coulthard, and we look forward to seeing you here in July 2001. Good night.
Spun, and Frentzen goes through. David Coulthard wins the British Grand Prix.
F1 on ITV in association with Texaco.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by livesport365.com is www.itv-
Now, here to introduce our next guest is Mr. Watkins. He's 66 years old.
Start your engines for the gigantic Jensen Button.
Now listen, how different is this to last time you came on?
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You all recognise him now, don't you, you see? OK, so we say there's a lot of testosterone in the studio from time to time, with the boys getting excited for a Friday. But Danny Baker has quite rightly just pointed out that tonight there seems to be a lot of the female opposite of that, a lot of oestrogen around it. Is that right, girls? Can you feel it?
Oh, yeah. Feel the vibes.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Great. So, you know, is this what you expected? Is this how you thought it would be?
It's amazing. No, I never thought it would be like this. It's the last couple of months have been absolutely amazing.
Now look at his smile, look at his smile. Doesn't it melt your heart, girls? So you're on the Grand Prix Tour now. What is it like? How does it differ from how you thought it would be?
It's amazing how many people there is involved to start with in Formula One. There's 400 people back at the factory doing work for 2 cars. 2 cars you see on the circuit, you think it's just a 2-hour race and that's it, but there's so much behind the scenes.
And they spend the whole time getting them ready and you crash them.
Well, I've tried not to, actually. I've done it a couple of times, but I've been trying not to.
No, you've done very well, by the way. Hats off. 5th in the British Grand Prix. I've said it once, but I've got to say it again. An unexpected 5th. I mean, you are doing unbelievably well. Are you finding it easier than you thought it would be?
I wouldn't say easier. It's been a good few races, especially Silverstone, finishing 5th. But the strangest thing was during the race, because it was so windy out on the circuit, I had the strangest sensation when I was going down the back straight that my helmet was being sucked off. It was absolutely the weirdest thing.
OK, and you still managed to finish the race.
Yeah, I know.
Which is incredible.
Impressed.
With so much going through your mind. What's the best bit of being on the tour? Is it the race itself, or
obviously the racing? That's what I'm here to start with. I've always wanted to be a Formula One driver since I was very young.
What's the best bit? Is it the start? Is it?
The start's probably the most exciting when the red lights are coming on, especially when you're starting next to Michael Schumacher, especially when you pass him at the first corner.
You good lad. So what does he think of you?
He's been really good actually. He said a lot of good things about me, and he said good luck to him. So it's really good when another driver says things about you like that, especially Michael.
And how much of the other drivers do you get to see on the tour? Because TV is a bit strange. You actually don't get to see that many people because you do your bit, then they've gone by the time you're ready to say hello and have a drink. Is it like that in Formula One?
You do see them quite often on the on the driver.
Who's a bore?
I'm not going to say that, am I? They're all great. No, they are. They're all pretty cool drivers, and it's strange because a lot of people think about Formula One that it's not, it's very boring and everything. But no, the drivers are really good fun and they know how to go have a good time.
And your car, what is the most damage you've done to it in one smash? Was it at Silverstone?
I think
it was
you actually getting in it. The wing mirrors, yeah.
But what? I mean, how much have you? When you damage the car, how much does it cost the team?
It's an unbelievable amount. I wouldn't like to say.
When you came up at Silverstone, would it be more than $1 million for that one spin?
Probably not. No.
$500,000?
I was actually. It was no problem. I was in the gravel trap. Car wasn't damaged, and Eddie comes along. Good old Eddie. And decides to drive into me.
Yeah, nice lad. Is he still aware, Eddie Irvine, that he's in Formula One? Is he still aware of that?
You'll see. Nah, he's doing well actually, and he's enjoying it as well, which is important.
So Williams are very happy with you, no doubt.
I think so.
Okay. Well,
I'm very happy with them as well. So.
Have they offered you an extension to your contract yet?
What? Is it only 1 year? Is it?
Well, I don't know. Have they said you're the man? We want to give you more money now, today, because you're so good?
No, we've obviously talked, and they're happy with what's been happening, especially Silverstone. Not so much Imola, because that didn't go so well. But we've got a good relationship at the moment. It's going well.
And how do you get paid? Do you get paid every Thursday like everybody else?
It's Fridays normally.
No, seriously, how do you get paid? Do you get, do you get a wage slip?
A wage slip, yeah, something like that.
And are you PAYE or do you?
Yeah, how do you get paid?
Straight into my bank account, PAYE, and I'm PAYE. I used to be freelance. Yeah, but I have to pay me tax now, national insurance.
Tax?
Yeah. Oh no, I forgot. Grand Prix drivers have a different take on that. Excellent. Listen, so before you drove in your first Formula One race, okay? Before that, how many autographs approximately had you signed?
I wouldn't have a clue.
Before that?
I wouldn't have a clue.
Quite a lot,
we signed quite a few before, but nothing like it is now. It's probably 20 times as much.
So would you say you've signed more in the last 10 weeks than you have in the whole of the rest of your life?
Definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Even the last week, I think.
Can I have your autograph on this?
You've got it already.
No,
yeah,
I actually want one from my wall.
Okay.
Because I've never actually seen.
What do you want me to write then? Something good about you?
I don't know. It's up to you. I don't mind.
I'll just sign it then, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
JB.
JB.
Nice, sounds. Now, have you shortened it since you found you signing more?
Yeah, it was actually J Button.
I know, they just go,
You see, look, it's a bit longer there.
And then it's just a line.
Yeah.
Now, listen, what's the best advice some of your contemporaries have given you?
I think it's actually your driver, Chris. I got picked up from the airport yesterday by one of your drivers, and he actually asked me, where do you park your Formula 1 car? And I said, I don't park it anywhere, really. We're not allowed to drive it on the road. And he was very shocked by that.
He was not.
Obviously, you don't take a start by it. What a Formula 1.
I do apologise about our drivers. It's very scary. What's the best? Who's the most impressive person you've met? Because you must have met kings and queens and politicians and film stars.
It's a difficult one, but I think it's got to be Frank.
Frank Williams?
Definitely.
The man?
Definitely. He's been amazing the last few months, and everyone says he puts a lot of pressure on the drivers, but he's been so helpful along with Patrick and Gerhard Berger, so it's a really good atmosphere in the team at the moment, and hopefully we can get some more good results.
All right, well, he's top man, still only 20 years old, feet firmly on the ground, but not when he's in that car, thank God. Jenson Button, thanks a lot, man. Now, we've got some...
Dopo 4 Gran Premi, Michael Schumacher guida la classifica del mondiale con 34 punti. Sono quindi 20 i punti che lo separano dal secondo in classifica. David Coulthard su McLaren 14 punti, terzo è Mika Häkkinen con 12 punti, quarto Rubens Barrichello su Ferrari 9 punti, quinto è Ralf Schumacher su Williams 9 punti, sesto il nostro Giancarlo Fisichella su Benetton 8 punti, settimo è Jacques Villeneuve su Bar 5 punti, ottavo è Jarno Trulli su Jordan 4 punti, nono Heinz Harald Frentzen su Jordan 4 punti, decimo l'esordiente inglese Button 3 punti, seguono 2 piloti a 1 punto che sono Riccardo Zonta della Bar e Mika Salo della Sauber. La classifica costruttori vede naturalmente in testa la Ferrari con 43 punti, seguita dalla McLaren con 26 punti, terza la sorprendente Williams con 12 punti, quarta la Benetton con 8 punti, quinta la Jordan con 8 punti, sesta la Bar con 6 punti, chiude sola soletta la Sauber con 1 punto.
Sono state 3 giornate di prove molto intense a Barcellona, senza mai tirare il fiato. Programmi fitti di cose da fare per tutti i team. Il pilota più atteso dopo il ritiro di Silverstone era Rubens Barrichello.
La macchina sta migliorando. Barcellona è un po' difficile perché c'è molto vento, c'è molta di questa cosa che la pista cambia sempre, però per ora direi che abbiamo fatto buoni giri, la macchina è migliorata, è consistente.
Schumacher ha lavorato su gomme e assetti, centinaia di giri e tempi migliori a ripetizione. Il tedesco è deciso a interrompere la tradizione favorevole della McLaren sul circuito di Montmeló e punzecchia il vincitore di Silverstone. Coulthard ha vinto una gara, ma il mio vero avversario per il titolo resta Häkkinen. E lui, il pilota migliore, il più veloce in McLaren. David sta migliorando, ma in qualifica è sempre Mika lo specialista. Pronta la risposta di Coulthard. Non mi interessano i commenti di Schumacher, che è libero di dire ciò che vuole. D'altronde, in parte ha ragione. Häkkinen ha dimostrato di saper vincere 2 mondiali, io no. Gli consiglierei però più prudenza. Sto bene e credo in me stesso. Anch'io quest'anno posso arrivare al mondiale. Intanto, nella lotta per il terzo posto, la Jordan sta perdendo dei colpi.
Sai, vuoi per anche problemi di affidabilità, vuoi anche che le altre macchine si sono rivelate molto competitive. Abbiamo avuto ad esempio inaspettatamente una Benetton delle prime 2 gare abbastanza competitiva, poi abbiamo avuto una Williams che in effetti ha fatto dei grossi passi in avanti e che in questo momento sembra anche molto più competitiva di noi. Io penso che abbiamo una macchina abbastanza buona, nata bene, che però deve essere sviluppata meglio, soprattutto ci sono dei particolari dove ci dobbiamo focalizzare un po' di più. Ho dato le mie direzioni, però dobbiamo attendere ancora un po' per l'arrivo di questi nuovi pezzi.
E della situazione incerta in fondo alla classifica, nella lotta fra Prost, Arrows e Minardi, parla Gian Alesi.
Innanzitutto, meno male che non c'è la retrocessione, dunque non c'è questo timore come può essere nel calcio. Però, io direi che con i punti solo fino al sesto, può essere difficile ancora un paio di mesi, diciamo, però una gara può cambiare tutto.
Dopo 2 giorni, con il sole e senza Häkkinen, venerdì sono arrivati sul circuito di Montmeló sia l'acqua che il campione del mondo in carica. Tutti i team ne hanno approfittato per studiare assetti e regolazioni in condizione da bagnato. Ancora una volta la Ferrari di Schumacher si è comportata bene, mentre quella di Barrichello ha accusato strani problemi con il volante un po' storto e la vettura che nelle curve a destra non andava allo stesso modo che in quelle a sinistra. Häkkinen da parte sua non ha certo gioito per le condizioni atmosferiche del suo primo e unico giorno di prove, tanto più che la sua McLaren non si è dimostrata ancora ben equilibrata e bilanciata. E anche lui ha ormai capito che sul circuito di Barcellona, tradizionalmente favorevole alle McLaren, questa volta la squadra da battere sarà la Ferrari.